Woo! What a great Friday intro that is. Good morning, everybody. Ben and Woods, 97.3 The Fan. So great to be here with you. And summer break is officially over. And we're back to business here on the Ben and Woods program. Padres baseball starts again tonight. We're excited. But again, just our pleasure to be here and serve you this morning. That's what we live to do, is serve you guys out there in the audience. I'm Woodsy. That is Paul Reindl. He's our executive producer. Good morning, Paulie.
Good morning.
And to my left, Benjamin R. Higgins, one of the friendliest, nicest, most cutting human beings you can meet. He's a sneaky assassin.
I think you came up with an idea inadvertently there. Next year, Ben and Woods spring break, we can turn that into like second vacation and do the show from Fort Lauderdale.
I would do that in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
I don't want Ben walking around the beach like interviewing people. I need Ben walking around the beach interviewing.
So, you guys like sandwiches out there? What do you think of the Aztecs' chances this year? Do you think they'll end up in the Pac-12?
Jalen Maiden, is he the quarterback this year for real?
My computer just
I don't know.
out.
I go to Central Florida University and just here for the weekend.
It's good to be here. It is good to be here. You don't know terror. You listening, you guys either. You don't know terror until your 5-year-old at 1:00 in the morning is standing by your bedside saying, "Mommy, I hear screaming." And that is exactly what happened to my wife, Hannah, and I this morning from our 5-year-old son, Bo. "Mommy, I hear screaming."
It's like The Shining.
Dude, The Shining is like, whoa. I mean, that Danny from The Shining was and he's got the long blonde hair, and he comes up to where his head is just like right at your eye level.
Right, standing straight up where your
Right
face
at
is
you.
at the bed, yeah.
"Mommy, I hear screaming." And I was like, now I sleep with my AirPods, and I fall asleep with my AirPods in. So I looked over and saw him there, and Hannah was like, and jumping up, and I have my AirPods in, they're noise canceling, so I'm going, what happened? She's like, just shut up, go back to bed. So when Hannah gets up anyway, so it's perfect timing for her. But bro, it was like, she goes, it was terrifying. And then we're in the kitchen this morning, we're having coffee, and she goes, and I go, what? She goes, I just saw a shadow. And she pulled up her phone to look at his camera. He's still in bed asleep. I'm like, oh my God. So that's how I started my day this morning. Very, very domed out. I'm very spun out from the lack of rest and REM sleep the last couple of days. But it's great to be here. But man, yeah, that scared the crap out of us this morning. Holy smokes.
That's terrifying. Now, there was no screaming that you could discern? It was
probably a bad dream or something like that. But it's not the best way. I've not had the most restful, relaxing last couple of days, but I'm very glad that Padres baseball is back tonight. I really am.
Yeah, this was it's always a slow sports week. This one felt particularly glacially slow when it came to stories and things to talk about. So summer break was fun, but I
had a
also
blast.
glad that it's over.
I did have a blast. I loved Cat Pervert yesterday. I thought that was really, again, thank God for Cat Pervert, because that filled about 30 minutes for us.
Did anyone ever contact you as possibly knowing I had the guy who was the neighbor of Cat Pervert guy?
I had this amazing feeling that I was going to get a text from Paulie later in the day that goes, "Boys, we got it." And I was like, come on, let's go.
We should probably replay a little bit of it here
let's
for people
replay
who weren't
some
with
Cat
us
Pervert
later in the show yesterday. But this actually, we found out, was from a pair of neighbors here in San Diego, we believe, from a couple of weeks ago. Guy filming an interaction with his neighbor, posted it on the internet. His neighbor was mad because the cat kept getting into the yard, but not the way that you would think, like, hey, keep your cat out of my yard. It was, my cat keeps going into your yard. Can you stop that and send him home?
Yeah, just talk to him.
And you're not sending him home fast enough. You are trying to co-opt my cat. You're trying to somehow steal my cat. And
Right.
this is what it sounded like.
Go home?
No,
Huh?
hand signals don't mean anything. It's a cat, dude.
Really? Okay. All right.
Really?
Well, we'll have the police department figure it out.
Absolutely, great idea.
All right. So the cat doesn't eat and drink anything over there, right?
No,
Oh no, never.
Never.
Right? No, never.
no,
No, never.
never. Yeah, never.
Cat pervert.
I have done
pervert.
nothing to bring the
pervert.
cat. This dude's
Cat
lost.
pervert.
This dude, he's lost it. He's lost it.
It's our cat.
He's lost it. He's lost it. Oh no.
We're calling the police because you're harboring our cat.
Harboring a cat.
Harboring our cat.
Is that a crime? What
You're
the
a
hell?
cat pervert.
I'm a cat pervert.
Yeah. You know what? There's a crime about you harboring my cat.
What crime is that?
Against the law.
What crime is that?
It's called harboring an animal.
I can understand being angry if my cat was in your yard. You're angry because your cat is in my yard.
He's a genius.
You could just send my cat home.
No, I can't. I don't speak cat, dude.
It was so good. It was just so well done.
I don't speak cat.
There's so many parts of it that I love. I really love the guy screaming cat pervert.
So we still have 4 hours today. If you know those people, especially
Please,
the guy who
please.
filmed the video, we would love for them to call in at any point today. We'll bump some of our regular. Craig
Yeah.
Elston will move for the cat pervert
I think he
neighbor.
would. Yeah, I do.
Craig gets it.
Yeah,
We'll
Craig.
even move Friday. Chris Kemp,
Can you
wait.
imagine?
We've got the Padres vice president of international scouting joining us at 9, maybe 9:30 though. If cat pervert guy wants to call in at 9.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the show today. It'd be nice to talk to some other humans other than just the two of you. But yeah, Craig will join us at 7:35. Chris Kemp at 9. Our buddy Adil Royster is in the studio chilling. He's from Philly, which doesn't make any sense because the Padres are in Philly and you're here.
Yeah.
So that makes
Poor schedule
absolutely
reading is what that is
terrible,
right there.
terrible vacation planning.
What can I say?
Let
Yeah.
Ben plan your next vacation.
Not our only Philly person, John Marks is going to be with
Yeah,
us as
love
well.
John.
Our friend from WIP in Philadelphia, our sister station, will join us at 8:35 as well.
And by the way, that's not a traditional Ben and Woods. We're playing the Rangers, so we'll get somebody on. But we just love John Marks, and we haven't talked to John in forever. And yeah, we'll see kind of where their
Talk to him
temperature
every
is.
other year when the Eagles are in the Super Bowl.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And we'll talk to him about just kind of what the temperature is in Philly. And you know, Adio's in here too. Like, how is the temperature in Philly right now for the Phillies?
Hard to really say because
Do they
I
care?
have adopted the Padres.
Yeah, you're a
as my
Padres
own.
fan. Yeah. Here,
So, yeah, kind of hard to say what the temperature is for the Phillies from a personal standpoint because I have
You don't
since
care.
adopted the Padres,
right
which was not fun for me during the NLCS.
in Philly.
Just letting you guys know that.
Right.
So, fun times, but couldn't really walk the streets.
But I feel like now, don't you guys feel like in Philly, they're like, oh, cool. Let us know when the Phillies win 5-10 in a row. But we're focused right now on Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, like almost exclusively.
So the second training camp starts, nobody cares really about any other sport.
And then the Phillies will make it into the playoffs, and then we're the best fans in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly like they were last year. They had like some of the lowest attendance until they got good.
Which was absolutely hilarious.
It's hilarious.
Well,
Yeah.
I will tell you that the Phillies at the start of June were 25-32, 7 games under 500, which is I think the Padres' low water mark was 8 games under 500. Since then, they have had 4 winning streaks of at least 4 games in a row. Padres have had how many this year? 0. Not a single winning streak of at least 4 in a row. They've done it 4 times in the last month and a half. So they're one of the hotter teams in baseball. At least they were before the All-Star break. And now the Padres and Phillies have a critical series here after the All-Star break. But it shows you it can be done because they're 7 games above 500 now. They had a good month and a half. They went from 8 under to 7 over. Padres 4 under. Hey, you have a good month and a half. By the end of August, you can be 8 to 10 games above 500 and very much in a playoff picture going into September, but you got to play some good baseball going forward.
Yeah, no question about it, man. I'm looking at your tweet from last night, Ben. Got a lot of play on this tweet. The new schedule is out for the 2024
We'll talk about
season.
the new schedule.
I want to talk about
some
the new
people
schedule.
are mad that you can't talk about next year's schedule yet. I mean, this season still have 2.5 months to go. Yes, but it came out yesterday, and there was nothing else going on. So, of course, we talked about the new schedule.
You know, and I feel like I take you take the lion's share of abuse on this show from me and Paul, but I feel like I take the lion's share of abuse online. But since getting off Twitter, I mean, I see a little bit here and there, but now my man over here catching shrapnel on the daily. There's a guy that hates Ben so much. It's like he hates you. Everything you tweet, he's like, you're the stupidest effing moron I've ever seen. It's like not even. Don't even justify it. It's not even. So I'm not gonna say his name.
Yeah.
He's but he's named after a water vessel. But yeah, so I mean he's not gonna put his name on it, right? Which kind of makes him a little B anyway, to not put your name on
I
your
think
tweets.
It's kind of funny. I mean,
do you?
Yeah.
But the
tweeted this morning,
yeah.
you were an excruciating moron. Okay, thank you for that. Glad that I could be of service.
An excruciating moron, not just a moron.
Yeah.
An excruciating. I object. No. I strenuously object. You're a moron. No.
You don't have to follow me, sir.
You're an excruciating moron.
Excruciating is defined as intensely painful. You are an intensely painful moron.
You know, you can describe Ben as a lot of stuff. I don't think moron is one of them. Like, it's just not when I think of Ben, I go, that guy's a moron. That's just not
causing
it.
Great pain or anguish. Like, you have really damaged this person.
This guy hates you so much. So
I hope
much.
He likes you. If he's subjecting himself to our show,
I don't think he does.
Maybe he's a huge Paul fan.
He could be. He could be. That is just phenomenal. Yeah, we'll talk about the new schedule. Eric says, so Woods monitors Ben's Twitter. I thought he was off Twitter. I am. I look at the Ben and Woods account because if I don't respond on there, then I think a lot of our tweets will go unanswered. So I do that in the morning. I do not have it on my phone. I considered downloading it this morning for the second half, bringing my account back. And I started thinking about it. And I go, nah, I don't need it. I'll be on Threads if you need me, and Instagram and more healthy places for me.
Before we get rolling here and get into our first break,
sorry about that.
I do want to send a little shout out to my colleague at 10 News, Virginia Cha. Her last morning on the air after 12 years at the station, been our morning anchor for the last several years. And then before that, I worked with her in the evening. She is moving on from the television business last day, and I just wanted to wish her the best. An extremely nice person, very good television journalist as well.
So she's out.
She's just decided that enough time in the mornings, especially enough time on TV for now, not necessarily retiring, but stepping away at least for a while, and wishing her the very best this morning.
This guy's going to just start doing mornings there, and then he just live there.
Ben, we need to talk to you. It's time to make a choice. Channel 10 or Ben and Woods. Oh, you can't do more. Yeah,
no
way.
No.
That's even earlier than this.
Yes, they start at 4.
Turn your office into a little apartment.
They start
4:30 a.m. news is when they get started, which means, and you have to be, dressed, makeup, shower, everything. I think they have to get up about
like
when Hannah gets up, like 1 a.m. to 2 a.m. to be there in time for that morning show.
There's no chance.
Brutal.
No
Absolutely
chance.
brutal.
No chance.
Someone always has it worse than you do. That's the moral of the story.
I got it great. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I got it great. I'm very tired, but I have it great. Today is going to be fun. We will always have fun, but we will get back to business. We will kind of look ahead at what the rest of the season looks like, the schedule. It's tough. I mean, it is tough. We have I mean they have dug themselves pretty big hole right now that they got to just continue to chip away and claw, and we'll see if that's a possibility. I saw a lot of rumors flying around yesterday. I spent a lot of time with MLB Network yesterday. Our pal Yonder Alonso, that guy will throw out some stuff real good. I mean, he will throw out some stuff and you're like, really? Okay. I'm
and you hate it because a lot of times you go like, well, who do they know?
Who
does Yonder know?
I know. He knows everybody. He knows everybody.
And whether you believe it or not, John Heyman had some Padres info in his New York Post column yesterday as well.
I wouldn't know. I'm blocked.
Well,
but I don't.
We can share that with you coming up. We've got our Daily Ditty, last one of the week. It was a Paul chosen theme of songs.
It's mine.
My
theme.
You chose the theme.
My theme. My song today.
So it is songs from iconic movie scenes.
Iconic scenes. Yeah.
And you get to wrap up the week as well. So we'll get to that coming up next, and then we are off and running on a Friday, a Friday Friday. It is Ben and Woods. Let's check traffic, and we're started here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
You hear this song, that means everybody is about to die. That is when you hear this song in Goodfellas. That means you over there, Frankie Carbone. I'm about to put you in an ice truck, a meat truck. That is Cream, Sunshine of Your Love, of course, from Goodfellas. When they zoom in on De Niro and that song plays and he's blasting that heater at the bar, holy smokes. It's about as iconic as it gets. And that was my selection. Benjamin?
Very good.
Goodfellas fan?
Good theme this week.
Goodfellas fan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not like my rewatch that I keep going back to all the time, but definitely a good movie.
Paulie, Goodfellas?
Love it.
Love it. Casino or Goodfellas?
Casino for me.
Really?
I really
Goodfellas.
like Casino.
Like Sharon Stone. That's fine. Wildcat. All right. Take us home.
Where are we going?
I have no idea.
Oh, you have no idea where we're going?
None whatsoever. I just did my part of the Sunshine.
So you're done.
I'm done.
Well, let's start with that rumor that you didn't see yesterday. Then John Heyman.
I did see it
New
actually.
York Post.
Well, we talked about it on our show yesterday.
Nothing. Not anything unusual or new, but John Heyman writing that at least around baseball, it is still very much believed that the San Diego Padres are going to be major bidders for Shohei Ohtani in free agency this offseason. You know, you look
not at the deadline if they choose to move him.
That still remains a possibility as well. I don't think that that's out of the question, but even if the Angels hold on to him the next couple of months and Shohei goes into free agency, Dodgers are still probably considered the favorites around the league to land Ohtani, but the Padres will be thought of as major players in the Ohtani sweepstakes, which you wonder how they're going to make it work with all the other revenue outlays that they're making to the rest of the stars on their roster. He's certainly, from a baseball perspective, what the Padres need most of all would be a designated hitter and maybe one more arm in their starting rotation. And he, of course,
He's both.
covers both.
He's
like
both.
Perfectly as one of the best players in baseball. So from that perspective, you can see why AJ Preller would be very interested in Shohei Ohtani.
I can't do this, man. I don't know that I can go through an off season on Ohtani watch. I don't think I can do it.
$50 million a year, $60 million a year, in addition to what they're already paying, though, for this roster. That would lift them up into almost New York Mets territory,
my friend,
when it comes to payroll.
Imagine the possibilities. And we talked about it a little bit yesterday. What is someone truly worth? You'll never know. You will never know. You will never know. You know, Paulie made a great point. LeBron James at $50 million is vastly underpaid for what he generates. The college athletes that go out there, and now they're finally making a little bit of money. I mean, for years, you guys, it was invest nothing.
Nick Saban's underpaid.
Yeah, invest nothing. You know, in education, invest in food and training and all that. So invest a little to make billions back. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
I get it.
So with Shohei, if you pay him $50 million, do we agree that we all think that man alone can generate $100 million a year in advertising and marketing? He can do $100 million on his own, probably, with his name, people coming into town to see him.
Now I don't think so. Not for the Padres, at least. Not in San Diego. Yeah, I'm sure he would help add some sponsors. I mean, Yu Darvish, I think, helped add. They have that Japanese tire sponsor that clearly, came along about the same time they landed Yu Darvish. So you can add advertisers, you can add eyeballs, but the Padres can't really sell any more tickets. They are already at close to 100% capacity this year. They've sold out, 85% of their games at least already this year. And the ones they haven't, what do they have? 3,000 or 4,000 that were available.
How about jerseys? How about hats? How about pennants? How about anything?
I'm not saying that people won't spend additionally. I'm just saying that for what you'd have to pay for him, I don't know that there's enough jerseys.
He's a dream.
And additional jerseys that you could sell
to
pay for Shohei Ohtani in San Diego.
There has to be. There's got to be. That's why he's worth it. And again, if it's $50 million a year, it's crazy to you and me. We talked about some of the soccer players, what they're making worldwide, and you see the contracts, you're like, oh my God, $100 million. So what do you think Messi generates if they're paying him $100 million? $500 million or something. Like, That's way above my pay grade. I wouldn't. If you gave me a marketable star and said market him, I'd be like, I have no idea. Put his face on a T-shirt. That's maybe a sticker. I have no idea. It's not my job. It's Eric Grupner's job and those guys to figure out if you get a guy like that, how do you milk the most out of it, baseball wise and money? I think there's a reason that they're saying that he'll get that much money.
Well, I think the value for a team like the Padres, especially, is in their ability, hopefully, to win. The Padres are trying to take that leap up. I make the comparison to the Golden State Warriors in basketball. California team that was mostly mired in mediocrity or worse for the vast part of their franchise history. But they have made the leap in the last 10 years through winning and dynamic players to become one of those NBA superstar elite teams that gets all the prime time, the Christmas Day games, everything, that kind of national attention. And I think the Padres are on the precipice of that, but you can't do it without championships. You've got to win championships. And if Shohei Ohtani brings, the Padres a couple of championships, then yeah, I think absolutely it would be worth it. But they have to win. I don't think just his name, especially in a smaller market, would generate the kind of revenue that would offset what you'd have to pay him. Now, he'll make a lot of money. Like, he already makes more money outside of his baseball salary by far than any other player in baseball. But that's his money.
That's his money.
That's not his team's money. That's not the Angels' money. They're making some, but they don't bring in nearly as much as the Dodgers do anyway.
No.
The Dodgers still have a much bigger fan base, a much bigger revenue base in Los Angeles than the Angels, despite the fact that they have Shohei Ohtani. It would be the same with the San Diego Padres. So, I'm not saying that they can't do it or they shouldn't do it. I just don't think that they'll immediately reap the financial rewards of having Ohtani on their team, considering what it's going to cost them. Now, you mentioned, will they trade for Shohei Ohtani? If the Angels make that decision in the next couple of weeks that they're out of it and they're putting Ohtani up on the market, John Heyman also wrote that the Padres are expected to be very protective of their top prospects in this trade deadline. Not that they aren't willing to make deals, but when it comes to guys like Ethan Salas and Jackson Merrill, they're at least making it sound like they're fairly untouchable. I don't think you can land Ohtani if you're also protective of your top prospects at this point.
No.
You can land other pieces.
Sure.
You can plug a hole here or there with a rental, but Ohtani, the Angels are going to want premium back if they are actually shopping Ohtani. I don't know that the Padres are willing to give that up right now.
Well, it's funny because Yonder Alonso, I was watching him, and I watched him a little bit yesterday. He had some funny ass predictions we can talk about later, but he talked a couple of weeks ago, and he was on the trade Ohtani when Trout went down, and he's like, okay, and Rendon everyone's down for the Angels, Ben, and he goes, trade him now. You have to. You absolutely have to start now, because the longer you wait, the crappier your package gets. Do it now. Give somebody the most they can have with Shohei. If Perry Manazian knows if he's getting him or not. He knows one way or the other. Like, I don't think it's going to be a surprise if he tests free agency. So the longer they wait, if they wait right up into the deadline, their package gets worse. If they do it today, it's a better package.
Well, look at the Padres. They're going to call up, according to Dennis Lin, they're going to call up Ryan Weathers to start one of the games of tomorrow's doubleheader. How much more valuable would it be to have Shohei Ohtani right now? Now, I don't know if he's available because of the blister, but theoretically, if you traded for him even 2 weeks early, that's potentially 2 or 3 more wins on 100%. A team that needs every single win as badly as possible.
That's just pitching. Yeah. Imagine he wins all 3 starts and rips 10 homers in that span, and you win a lot more games. So
there is 2 weeks of value to be had there.
There's no
if
question.
They traded him sooner.
There's no question. And I don't. What is their standing right now? I don't know. I don't know whether the Angels are. I think they're above 500, right? But not
much. Going the wrong direction.
Not lighting the world on fire.
5.5 games maybe out in the wild card race is I think what they were the last time I checked.
I bet you Manazian's not sleeping at all.
They are one game under 500, 5 games out in the wild card. So they're closer than the Padres are at this moment, but they've also lost 5 in a row and 1-9 in their last 10 games. So they've been free falling in the wrong direction going into the All-Star break.
Interesting.
All right, we got to look ahead. Padres, obviously, critical 10-game road trip that starts today in Philadelphia. Taking a look ahead, and we can take the long look ahead as well. Funny that we were talking about it yesterday. the 2024 schedule. I think it comes out sometime in August. No,
It usually does.
yeah, it came out yesterday, and we now know the Padres are going to be playing, when they're going to be playing them, where they're going to be playing them next season. Seems a little early, but I love schedule analysis. It's one of the things that makes me an excruciating moron.
That's true.
Here on Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
T-shirt.
This segment of Ben Woods is brought to you by the Golf Mart. Again, we've got Craig Elston joining us for his Friday Crossing Stream segment at 7:35. Our friend John Marks from Philly at WIP. He's going big time, too.
He really national is. I love him, though, man. He's great. Nobody deserves it more.
8:35.
Yeah, I'm filling in for Boomer Esiason sometimes during our show.
Exactly, which makes me so happy. I don't have to hear Boomer struggle for a lozenge.
And then it's a Friar Friday. Our guest this week will be the Padres Vice President of Amateur and International Scouting, Chris Kemp, on the heels of the Major League Baseball draft that wrapped up earlier this week. He also said that Ethan Salas was perhaps the greatest prospect he has ever scouted in his life.
Who said this?
Chris Kemp.
Oh, I thought you were talking about John Heyman. I don't know.
No, Chris Kemp said that, and so far so good. He's got like an 880 OPS or something, and Lake Elsinore is a 17-year-old.
Seems too easy
in
for him.
Single A full season baseball. I mean, that's about as good as they possibly could have hoped for. And they're saying, yeah, he's doing a nice job behind the plate. He's calling games well. I mean, this is a guy who should be a junior in high school.
It's staggering when you say it like
with
that.
Professional baseball players who are generally in the 20 to 23-year-old range at that level at Lake Elsinore, catching professional pitchers who are trying to make their way to the big leagues as well. Pretty impressive. So looking forward to talking about all of that with Chris Kemp coming up on our Friar Friday at 9 o'clock. All guests on Ben Woods appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. But we're going to turn our attention to the immediate and long-term future of the San Diego Padres, the upcoming road trip, and the 2024 schedule that came out yesterday. Do that right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by the all-new Premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad. Well, things are shaping up on northbound side of the 805 since they cleared that earlier crash past the 8. Eastbound King Freeway has been hit with an accident now right before Euclid. Looks like this vehicle went up the right shoulder embankment. So, yeah, you've got some emergency crews on scene helping out with that. And still clearing an accident northbound side of the 125 right around Hammershaw. Premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad with all new 2023 GMC Sierra 1500 elevation package trucks, $4,000 off MSRP, over 15 in stock to choose from. Stop in or shop online at carlsbadbuickgmc.com. A proud member of the Premier Carlsbad family of dealers. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
As I said yesterday, I have a plan for this Padres road trip. Now, the Padres can't have a plan. They can only win one game at a time, go 1-0 today, focus on the game ahead of them. I have the luxury of looking a little bit ahead, though, with fans.
No one likes it more.
So 7-3 to me is the circled goal for this road trip. Hey, 10-0 would be great, but let's be realistic. It's a 3-city East Coast road trip with a doubleheader on Saturday. I'm not expecting 10-0. 7-3, though, would get the Padres back to 500. And there's a couple of different ways they can do it. The easy way, win all 3 series. 3 of 4 from the Phillies, 2 of 3 from the Blue Jays, 2 of 3 from the Tigers. You can lose games in every single city and still come home at 500 if you play good baseball. However, you could split with the Phillies, take 2 or 3 from the Blue Jays, sweep the Tigers. That could be an option as well. There are a number of different combinations that get you to 7-3. But to me, if you want to see the Padres looking and heading into September or at least late July before the trade deadline, and they'll be back from this trip on July 25th. So I think that's 6 days, 1 week before the trade deadline, which is August 1st. I feel like you've got to be at the least 2 games under 500, probably 500 though. If they go 5-5 on this trip and they're still 4 games under 500, or they go and have a losing record on this trip, there's not really going to be any justification to trade away prospects and add pieces for what is a pie in the sky dream of coming back in the last 2 months of the season. It'll be 7-8 games out in the wild card with 5, 6, 7 teams ahead of you. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So you have to play well on this road trip to justify doing what you all want to do, what AJ Preller wants to do, what the players want to do, what Bob Melvin wants, and that is add a couple of pieces and try to go on a run the last couple of months. But you can't justify that unless you play well over these next 10 days. I don't think you can.
I mean, no.
You're throwing bad money after good. You're chasing,
but it's not just
you're chasing a 5% chance to make the playoffs. Maybe at that point,
you're missing the other part of it. It's not only are the next 10 games pivotal in that, Ben, but you're talking about trading prospects. What about trading the guys that you already have on this roster and moving those guys and essentially what signals, it's 4th down 17. And, I get it. We're going to be punting here, though, and season's over, essentially, which
it's bad feeling. I'll tell you that.
It's a
really, really bad feeling. It may be the wise thing to do, at the end of July if you're not in it.
And that's the thing, is that it can go, there's so many ways that it could go terribly bad, right? Not to be a doom owner, but there's so many ways it could go terribly bad. The chasing of the 5 to 9% chance of making the playoffs, that could go horribly, horribly wrong. You could have another Ryan Ludwig situation where you're like, let's, but basically everybody that AJ's traded for at the deadline, seemingly, no one's really come in and lit the world on fire. So you're already you feel like you're behind the 8 ball a little bit there. And then you look at it, you're like, I don't want to give up, obviously not going to give up Salas or Merrill or anything like that, but there's a couple other guys down in the system, the Snellings, the Wolves, guys like that, where you're like, I don't want to give those guys up either to chase 5%. That could go terribly wrong. You could get a crappy return for Blake Snell or Josh Hader if you're going to move those guys. It's tough, man. It can go horribly wrong. The only thing that cures everything, really, from a fan perspective, is you win. You win a bunch of these games. You win a bunch of these the games in the next few weeks. And then, for AJ, for those guys, it makes it easier to have a clear path, because there is no clear path right now outside of just winning a bunch of ball games.
Yeah, winning against the Phillies, though, at least makes it a bit more clear. It's one of the teams you're trying to chase down.
Exactly right.
You're 5 games behind them right now, so you can eat into a chunk of that if you can win this series coming up. Now, we also got the 2024 schedule released yesterday for the San Diego Padres. We found out 2 days ago that they're going to open it in Korea against the Dodgers on March 20th and 21st. We also found out that they will have their stateside opener, the traditional opening day, 1 week after they get back from Korea. So on the 28th of March, that's a Thursday, they will host the San Francisco Giants on opening day at Petco Park in the first of a 4-game series. The rest of the schedule, I mean, you can look at it if you are interested. May is kind of neat. They have a weekend series against the Dodgers and the Yankees at home in the month of May. So I know those are all be absolutely sold out, weeks and weeks ahead of time with 2 big opponents coming in. I noticed at the end of the year was kind of interesting. After they get home from a trip to Tampa Bay, they get home on September 1st. They don't leave the time zone the last month of September. It's all either home games or road games against teams like Seattle and the Dodgers and San Francisco, and they go to Arizona, which I know is Mountain Time, but it's the same since they don't go on daylight savings. They don't ever really leave Pacific time over the last month.
That is important.
I think that's good.
That's the tweet you sent to the guy called you an excruciating moron.
Yeah,
like it's not. Your body clock stays the same. You're good.
I prefer it when my team goes to the East Coast for 2 days,
Midwest,
and then comes back,
10,
and then has to go
Florida.
back to Minnesota, and then back to San Francisco, and then wrap it up with a 3-game series in Miami.
Keep them all. Here's a quadrant of the United States. We're in it. You stay in this quadrant for a month. By the way, it could be a pretty important month. How's that a dumb take? I don't get it.
Well, they have a lot of travel in the middle of the season. There's a lot of off days, like in the first few months, and then in August they gotta, play almost every day. So they will have some dog day stretches, as every schedule does. You can't get around it, a 162 game schedule, especially the balanced schedule that they're doing now. So you're going to eat it at some point, wear it at some point during the schedule, but they don't have to wear it when you're usually the tiredest and the games mean the most in September. And I thought that was a good thing.
It's a good thing. And I like that take by you. I also have already gotten the directive on the away game next year, San Francisco, for the wife's birthday. That's where she wants to go.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, and the Padres are there in San Francisco, get to go to Oracle. So that's done. Paulie and Megan are talking already about Boston, maybe
First trip to Fenway since 2013, I think it was for the Padres. Almost a decade since they've been to Fenway Park.
For interleague play, I think this year would have been the year to go for a trip. There's better options.
Better options.
Those teams are all coming here next year, which is great. But I was looking around like, I mean, let's see. Tampa Bay, no.
Padres go back to Kansas City. You like that
Cleveland?
Trip. You did that one last
was
year.
Fun.
Cleveland, no.
Make sure you get a good rental car, though. You don't doo-doo on the side of the road after a bottle of Jack Daniels.
We're looking at Boston in late June, I think, is probably the one most people have circled. That's a pretty cool trip.
It is.
They go to New York to play the Mets. They do that every year, but that's still a good trip. And then Chicago, they go to play the Cubs every year. Still never been to Chicago, never been to Wrigley. So one of those three cities, I'm thinking, is probably going to be happening.
Adam has pretty much informed us to put the Korea trip out of our minds. So that was yesterday. And
actually,
it wasn't a hard no. I think there was some wiggle room there.
Yeah. The wiggle room is if you can find $20,000 from a sponsor, you can go. That was the wiggle room. So, I mean, you guys come up with 20 grand, have a ball. So, I mean, I think we're good. Ben's probably still going to go. It's fine. Just go enjoy with your family. We'll be here again. Don't take the equipment. You're not allowed. No, you're not taking the equipment. You're not allowed anymore. You're never allowed to take the equipment again.
I'd be sad though if you guys weren't with me. That's part of the reason I want to go. I want us all to go.
Like your mom's going with your kid. Like you want to go with your family.
No, I mean we've talked about it, but we certainly haven't. I saw people already booking flights yesterday.
That is unreal.
Incheon International Airport.
That's unreal.
In Seoul, they $1,600 round trip. Boom! Here's the credit card. We are off to Korea. I don't even know if you get tickets to the game. As I said, there's only like 19,000 seats in that ballpark. I'm not sure how they're making tickets available, but people are already set to go see the Padres and Dodgers playing in Korea. I came in yesterday, right at the end of the show. Braden comes in, runs Coach's show, and he was saying how he is going to be playing in the Over the Line tournament this weekend out on Fiesta Island. This is the free-for-all weekend, I think the first couple of days, and then next weekend you get some of the more serious competitors who take part. Joining us right now on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline, friend Tom from Ombach, as they put together their signature event each year. It's such a San Diego iconic weekend. It may be for you, maybe it's not for you, but it's out there for sure. Tom, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing well, man. We got the Ben and Woods team sponsored this year. The Ben's Big Woods. Going to be bringing by our shirts today. Very excited to hopefully send a winner out there. That's what we want to do most of all is send a winner out there. We're not doing the bidding. They're doing the bidding.
It's too bad that we didn't get the new name, Excruciating Morons.
I know. Ben and Woods Excruciating Morons.
Before the under the gun here, but.
To be clear, I could change it if you want it.
Oh, he can change it.
Well, the T-shirt's already made, man. They're bringing them by today.
I like Ben's Big
Woods.
Woods.
We'd be doing them wrong if we did that.
Yeah, we would.
Well, at least we can change it so when they win it, we can show that Ben's Excruciating Moron.
That's fantastic. So give everybody listening right now. You got a pretty good size audience listening right now. If they want to come out, what's the best? Give them just kind of the lay of the land, what they need to do this weekend if they want to come out and support.
Sure. So yeah, the tournament kicks off tomorrow morning. Our men's open division starts at 7:30. We have free parking all the way around Fiesta Island. That whole road is free parking. If you want to park closer to where the playing entrance is, we have a parking pass that's good for both weekends. We sell for $40. Like I said, that's about 50 yards from the playing area entrance. So you can drive in, late morning, get a spot not too far away from where everything is. Because sometimes the road, if you park on the road, you're a little far away and you have to walk a good amount of around Fiesta Island to get to an entrance to the playing area. But come on down. Earlier the better to get parking. Make sure you're wearing some, sandals or shoes. It's going to be a hot one out there. Have your sunscreen and a hat, and then you can bring your own drinks down, alcoholic or non-alcoholic. The only stipulation is no glass is allowed. So load up your cooler, put it in the wagon. If you don't want to do that, we've got stuff for you for sale to the public. We've got half a dozen stands selling food and drink. Nice. Alcohol is included. So come on down with some money to spend on a great day at the Fiesta Island at the 70th Annual Overland World Championships.
It's like I said, and it's an iconic San Diego event. Now, not always the most tasteful of events, Tom, but that's
God. Tom,
That's true.
Tom,
we're not going to lie.
I'm sorry about him, Tom.
I just want to make sure before everyone, before Woods brings. Well, your kids would probably be fine.
Are you?
Wow.
I'm gonna.
I can only imagine the tension in the studio right now. Did we lose Woods? He's out.
I'm here.
Yeah.
You started drinking in the morning? Like, what's going on right now?
I just don't want people to think necessarily this
I know
is
what it is.
Great place to bring the 7 kids and just let them run around for the day.
You took mushrooms this morning, didn't you?
Something.
Did have mushrooms with dinner last night.
Oh, wow.
Tom, sorry that my co-host insulted your entire event. It's a lovely time out there.
It is.
It is.
For kids, we definitely don't encourage kids.
Right.
It's definitely an 18 and up event this weekend. Next weekend, the same. Championship Sunday, it's way more toned down. It is, where we get to showcase the sport. The best of the best are still playing to get that title of world champion. So I get where he's going with this, but I'd say that maybe applies to Sunday only. Championship Sunday only. Mildly appropriate to have kids out, and we still recommend, at least teenagers.
All right, Tom, thank you so much. Good luck. Good luck this weekend to everybody out there, and hope everybody has a good and safe, fun time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks,
guys.
Tom.
All right, Tom from Momback, the old Mission Beach Athletic Club on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads.
Are my kids tasteless? Are we tasteless parents?
No.
What do you think happens over it?
I'm just saying you expose them to more than maybe some other parents do sometimes.
Not nude women and alcohol. What do you think my house is? The Mardi Gras? Throw mama those beads.
Just profanity and R-rated movies is all that they're allowed to see.
Oh, my God.
All right, we'll play some Take on Woods coming up next here on The Fan.
I need a seltzer. My wife is currently on her way down here to beat you with an asp. Just so you know.
Join the club because everybody's coming down here today.
They are, actually. They are. A lot of folks dropping in today. I like that, though. It's a wild Friday here on Ben and Woods after a fun week. We've had a very fun week and shooting the breeze, chewing the fat. Where does that come from?
Chewing the fat.
Like I'll come over and gnarl on your love handle.
I don't know.
Chewing the fat.
Just kind of keeping your mouth just going. Because when you chew fat, it's not.
Oh, that's good.
It's not easy to chew, so you have to keep your mouth constantly moving, which is what you're doing when you're talking to someone. That would be my guess.
That's logical. It's hard to get through it, right?
Yeah. So you just keep
just keep
going and going and going.
No, she didn't care. She didn't even text me.
Is she going to over the line? Gonna represent, as it were, this weekend?
She looked good. She's got the
traditional over the line costume.
She's got the tools.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, for OTL, she has the tools in the toolbox.
That's a compliment
for what's needed out at OTL.
That's a compliment right there.
Yeah. So she doesn't really like to drink much, and she doesn't like to drink in the sun either. So it might not be the right fit for her.
We have a game of Take on Woods coming up here in a couple of minutes. Had a couple of qualifiers this week. We had an outright winner. We had a winner on Real or Fake yesterday. Want to get your name into the drawing for a trip to Las Vegas and concert tickets as well later this summer. You can give us a call now and get online. 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. Today, Padres return to action, second half of the season, the unofficial second half, the non-mathematical second half, against the Phillies. 3:05 first pitch, 2:05 pregame show with Sam Levitt here on 97.3 The Fan, and it's Yu Darvish on the mound. To me, Woods, one of the key players in the second half of the season for the San Diego Padres is Yu Darvish. He is, often referred to as the ace of the Padres staff. He's certainly the most accomplished of their pitchers, but he was not the most effective of their pitchers in the first half of the season. Had a couple of up and down starts. Of course, went through that 15-day stint on the injured list due to illness where he lost like 6 pounds. Now,
I mean, he was arguably their fourth or fifth best pitcher.
He was.
He's their five
now,
right now.
I mean, Snell, obviously. Musgrove's been nails. Waka's been insane.
Yeah, I think
Lugo's had a lot of good starts.
I think he's our fourth.
I don't want it to sound like that Yu Darvish has just been outright bad.
He hasn't.
Because he hasn't. He's had some decent starts. He's battled when he didn't have his great stuff. I mean, you lose 6 pounds, you come back into the mound. I think 5 innings, 2 runs his last time out. I mean, they didn't
I've never lost 6 pounds, so I have no idea what that would feel like. He's
going out there. He's competing. He's 5-6. It's not like he's 2-8 or something.
Yeah. No, he's.
But they need Yu Darvish to pitch more like a top of the rotation guy. That will give them a very deep starting rotation and a chance to win almost every game going forward.
You know what word I like for Yu Darvish, and when he's on, you use it a lot? Crisp. When Yu Darvish is crisp, we're in good shape. We can win that ball game every single start. If he's not crisp, he's not. It's not that he's wildly ineffective. That's the good thing about Yu Darvish. You never really feel like he's wildly ineffective. You feel like if Blake isn't locked in, he can be wildly ineffective. Yu Darvish will always find a way to get a huge double play ball, but when he's crisp and all 14 pitches are working, he's really hard to hit, and that's when he can vault himself up into that ace moniker.
And when he's not, he just doesn't have the sharpness on some of the breaking balls. You'll see maybe him struggle, especially in the first inning, and you're going, all right, I guess this isn't working, and then he'll switch to something else, and he'll usually be okay, but might be down a couple of runs at that point, and with the Padres offense, it's sunk him a couple of times. We've seen that as well with Yu Darvish.
Yeah, he just the more crisp he can be, the better our chances in the second half. He is, you're right, though, a massive key piece for us.
Still need a Take on Woods contestant. The phone lines are open, 833-288-0973. This is your chance to get in if you wanted to play. Now is a good time to call in. I don't know much about the opponent today. Christopher Sanchez, left-handed pitcher. 0-2, got a nice 2.84 ERA. I think he's only made a half dozen starts or so, and most of them are in the 75 pitch range. He hasn't been extended out, 4 inning, 5 inning, 6 inning at most. coming off a break, maybe he can stretch out a little bit. Padres tend to fare better against lefties, even sometimes guys they haven't seen before. But like I said, I don't know. He doesn't strike out a ton of batters either. This is one of those kind of mystery matchups where you're going to have to rely on some scouting report and some film and whatever the coaches are saying about this guy.
Well, he's thrown all of 25 innings this year. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a guy, again, we've seen these guys absolutely shred the Padres, though, this year. We've seen them shred the San Diego Padres, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know much about his stuff. I've not seen him throw. We'll see tonight, but I can. There's a litany of guys, Ben, with around this same line that it seems have devastated the Padres. It looks like he mostly throws sinkers, changeups, sliders. So yeah, he's like a 3-pitch guy. So we'll see what happens.
And that's another thing that's going to have to change in the second half of the season. The Padres will have to be more effective against these guys who are just guys, just
guys.
Other teams' third and fourth starters can't have these outstanding, wow, what a great start he had against the San Diego Padres efforts that we saw a few too many times in the first half.
What'll be interesting tonight, right? So you're coming off the break, everyone fresh and recharged and healthy. So you got a lefty on the mound. Will we see Bob Melvin do the righty heavy lineup? Like, will we see Brandon Dixon in tonight instead of Jake Cronenworth? Jake's had a really rough start to the season, but it's a guy you're counting on.
Well, now that Nelson Cruz is gone, I mean, you kind of need Brandon Dixon as a DH with Jake Cronenworth in the lineup, unless you're going to go a lefty-lefty matchup and have Odor. Or I don't even know how much are we going to see Matt Carpenter in the second half of the season, or is he on borrowed time now with the San Diego Padres? If they make a trade at a bat, going to be hard justifying keeping Matt Carpenter, even though you've signed him through next season.
You kind of just got to eat that one.
I mean, Bob's not using him. He doesn't feel comfortable very often.
He's taking up a spot.
2 DH appearances in the last 2 weeks. He's just sitting there unused on the bench.
Waiting for a pinch hit opportunity.
You aren't going to be able to taxi that for the rest of the season when every at-bat is going to be critical and they're going to need someone producing. I mean, Odor has kind of been the more left-handed option against righties now as the designated hitter recently.
Yeah. We've talked about it with pitchers like Luis Garcia, we're trying to get him back on track.
Right.
The only way to get back on track is to keep throwing him out there.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with hitters. The only way to get them back on track is to give them at bats.
They got to swing.
But you don't want him out there getting those at bats. So
you just can't. Is he one of those reverse splits guys, Carp, or is that just Grish?
I think his splits are bad on both sides this year, unfortunately.
If you're Matt Carpenter, you're like, well, I get one at bat a week. Like it's kind of hard to get going, but what do you expect?
It's this vicious circle of, well, have you done enough to deserve more AB? We were giving you more ABs and you didn't. Again, it's the worst part about being a baseball player. It's in your hands. It's literally in your hands. You and only you can change your fortunes, So, but do you wonder, it's going to be really interesting to watch how Bob Melvin manages the second half. These games, Ben, these next 72 games are huge. They're huge.
But you can't just play every guy 72 straight games.
Correct.
You still need to give guys days off.
And people are going to
off their feet.
Bob's been roasted more than I ever imagined he would be this year. It's going to get worse because, again, he can't manage every game like it's game 7. You just can't do it. You guys will burn out after 2 weeks. So he still has to be judicious in his moves. He's got to be calculating in his moves. You also have to have the bullets down there in the pen to work. You got to make the right bench decisions.
We did see last week Josh Hader appear in 3 straight, but then they needed to give him 2 straight off.
And we lost one of those games where we clearly could have used him.
So you have to, again, think ahead every single time. I need this guy now, but that could hurt me the next couple of days. It's always, that would drive you crazy as a manager. Everything has a consequence. Every action has a reaction, and you got to manage it for 162 games.
Yeah, it's really, really tough. And now you don't. Now you have to manage a 72 game season, and that's what you're going up against. Is 72 games. We need to win about 45 of them. So, I mean, you have to take it one day at a time. If you're the players, you got to flush a bad performance. But if you're Bob Melvin, you're planning for not only this year, you're planning for Toronto also.
But so remember, that still means they're going to lose, 27 games, even if they get where they want to go.
Yeah.
There's going to be some losses. We can't fall apart every time.
Correct.
the Padres lose a game either, because it's going to happen.
I've been falling apart all year. I fell apart after the first game. You told me that it was going to be fine.
The Padres went 5-1 on the homestand, but when the game they lost, everyone fell apart again.
Absolutely.
That's the way it's been feeling.
Well, you think it was bad in the first half. Wait till now when it's crunch time. 72 games still is a crunch time scenario for this baseball team.
All right, we got a lot to get to this hour. Craig Elston, don't do this. So let's start with our game. It is time for Take on Woods.
Jim or Tom? Either one.
All right, Paulie has given me free reign here. Let's try Jim today on Take on Woods. Jim, you are the lucky contestant. Good morning.
Good morning, boys.
It's good to have you, and hopefully you can beat or tie Woods in our musical trivia contest and qualify for our July grand prize drawing of a 2-night stay at the Westgate Las Vegas and 2 tickets to Skid Row and Warrant in concert on September 30th at the International Theater. Check out the Westgate Las Vegas's redesigned $70 million upgraded room renovations, home of legendary Vegas fun. You can get tickets at Ticketmaster.com. All right, you get to pick our category today. Woods is gone, so here's what we're working with. Still sitting there, but who's counting? Category all about counting. We got the mystery category, and our new category today is called That We Are. Those are 5 song titles that begin with we are or we're, like WE''RE. So, Jim, but who's counting the mystery category or That We Are?
Let's go with That We Are.
That We Are. All right, the new category today, again, 5 different songs. They either begin with like we're or we are. You'll have 60 seconds. If you don't know an answer, say pass. We can come back to it if there's time remaining at the end. First question's the 2-second song. Paulie will play you a short clip of a well-known hit. Starts with we are or we're. You need to give me the title and the artist to score that point, and then we'll move on from there. Jim, are you ready to play?
I'm on.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock.
Bring it, Jim.
Time begins when Paul plays the music. The category That We Are. Good luck, Jim. Let's take on Woods.
We Are Family. Pointer Sisters?
No, you got half of it right. We Will Rock You was the B-side of which other sportsy anthem by Queen?
We Are the Champions?
Correct. One of Twisted Sister's biggest hits shares a title with which final track from The Who's rock opera Tommy?
We're Not Gonna Take It.
Correct. Of the over 50 singles released by Taylor Swift, which one has the longest title, checking in at 7 words? Which patriotic song by Grand Funk Railroad became the band's first #1 single in 1973?
Ten seconds.
Any of those last 2? Anything? No. We got 2. We got 2.5, really, because he got We Are Family. He just didn't know it was by Sister Sledge. Hang on the line, Jim. You got We Are the Champions, and We're Not Going to Take It. Taylor Swift, as Paul very well knows, we are never, ever getting back together. And Grand Funk Railroad, I won't give you the answer because Woods just walked in. That's all right. You can come on in. Don't worry. You come on in. We're good. We're good. The score's locked in. We're ready to go. Let's play.
You're good.
All right. We're an American band. All right. Come on. Let's come back in. Let's go. I was almost done. That's fine. All right. So Jim's score is locked in. Woods doesn't get the category. Makes our little tougher game for our champion here. 60 seconds on the clock. Time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck, Woods. Let's take on Jim.
We Are Family by Sister Sledge.
Correct. We Will Rock You was the B-side of which other sportsy anthem by Queen?
That is We Are the Champions.
Correct. One of Twisted Sister's biggest hits shares a title with which final track from The Who's rock opera Tommy?
We're Not Going to Take It.
Correct. Of the over 50 singles released by Taylor Swift, which one has the longest title?
We Are Never Ever Getting Back Together.
Correct. Which patriotic song by Grand Funk Railroad became the band's first #1 single in 1973?
We something. We Grand Funk Railroad. I know this one. We
got a little time here.
F word. We. This is gonna kill me.
Well, obviously, he didn't hear it when he was walking.
No,
because that's the one I was giving the answer.
No, I
to.
did not hear. We love these nuts.
We're an American band.
Yes, I like that song.
But you got 4 and a 4-2 win over Jim today to wrap up the week of Take on Woods in the category That We Are. Yeah, it was all We Are or We're songs today.
It's good to get back on the winning side of things.
All right, we got Don't Do This coming up next. I really a horrifying mistake by a big-time sports media
It might just take up all of Don't Do This.
Like
I've tracked down the audio.
Okay, good.
He will never, ever live it down. Never, ever.
Horrible on so many different levels.
You guys, some people
But it could
there,
happen to probably a lot of people.
No,
you don't think so?
It couldn't. Not face to face.
We'll talk about it coming up next.
This is unbelievable.
With Ben and Woods back after a check of traffic. By the way, this segment of Ben and Woods brought to you by the Golf Mart on 97.3 The Fan.
It's time for Don't Do This.
What were you thinking?
3 stories from the world of sports that make us all shake our heads.
Why? How many times do I have to tell you?
I'm sorry, I fudged up, guys.
You idiot. You moron. Dumbass.
The apple sometimes does fall from the tree.
Don't Do This.
Do not tweet that.
With Ben and Woods.
I like a Nickelback song or two.
On 97.3 The Fan.
Doing a little differently today. First, though, this hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by South Norte Tequila. That's kind of south-north. It's like an opposite.
Thinking that the other day.
Real tequila, real juice. Savor South Norte. Premium tequila cocktails. Sip on a classic margarita or an authentic Paloma. Pop the top on the Mexican Mule. Savor the Matador. Available at Sater Brothers, Ralph's, and more. All right, so instead of 3 different stories,
yes,
we're wrapping it all up into one.
It's like an onion, though. There's many
lots of layers
today,
story. And it all involves Stugotz from the Dan Levitard Show.
Friend of the program.
And this is a little bit differently when it's a friend.
This is the American Century Championship, right? The celebrity golf tournament going on this weekend up in Lake Tahoe.
Yes, a ton of celebrities playing there. Stephen Curry is always up there.
They call him Stephen.
What's his name?
He calls him Steph.
Steph. I mean, you got to know him pretty well before you can call him Steph.
Do you?
But I digress. Let's give enough time.
You know who's
here
always
for the
up there?
story.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Yeah. Likes golf.
Loves golf.
Great regular
golfer
at the tournament.
Now,
Yeah.
I think it's important to lay out some context for these clips. Stugotz is a national, well-known sports radio podcast host.
Maybe
He's been doing this for a very long time.
Maybe the most fearless person on a microphone that exists right now.
Isn't he the sportsier of the guys usually on that show, though?
Yeah. Well,
Dan's
very smart.
I mean, Dan's very smart and sportsy, but they go off the rails all the time.
All the time.
For sure.
Stugotz is also a diehard, lifelong, massive New York Jets fan. So imagine his excitement when he got to finally meet his quarterback, Aaron Rodgers.
The savior. This is there. All my couple friends that are Jets fans are like, you don't understand. We're running the table. And I'm like, you're really not. You're still the Jets at the end of the day. Aaron Rodgers be damned. And Stugotz was losing his mind.
We've got 3 clips. Here's a clip from their show where Stugotz is explaining getting the opportunity to meet Aaron Rodgers.
You know, it's not
Mike,
the easiest sell job to just, hey, can you fund Stugotz's vacation while he chums it up with Aaron Rodgers and Tahoe for a week?
Well, I just did. I mean, I hugged my quarterback, and my quarterback hugged me back.
Stugotz was in peak Stugotz form out at the driving range.
I am not certain Jeremy's ever witnessed me in all my glory, just doing what I do, which is just walking right up to people on the driving range and acting like they're my best friends.
We were standing out on the driving range trying to figure out are we going to wrangle some celebrities? Are we going to be able to Google image search and make sure that we're not saying the wrong names? And then Stugotz walks up from behind us and just walks right into the driving range, chumming it up with everybody, hanging out with Marty Fish. Hey, buddy, what's going on? And immediately he's turned into every other celebrity that's there, chumming it up, acting like, of course, they must know who he is. And yet, I know that in this circumstance with Aaron Rodgers did know who Stu was.
He did.
He very much knew who Stu was, and he knew he was his quarterback.
He looked at me, turned back to Marty, and then turned back to me, and he was like, hey. And I go, hey. And he goes, hey. And I go, hey. And then we hugged. And we all know what the haze meant. I mean, that guy's my quarterback, and we take mushrooms. He's coming on tomorrow, by the way.
That's incredible.
Yes.
Okay.
Coming on tomorrow.
Okay.
That is clip number 1. Clip number 2.
Sounds kind of normal so far.
Clip number 2 comes from what they labeled an emergency podcast. That was about a 15-minute video clip that they put out shortly after the show that you just heard that clip came from. And here's how that went.
Gave Stugotz a hug. Had finally agreed to join Stugotz on God Bless Football.
Looked at each other knowingly with a hey,
recognize
hey,
Mm-hmm.
Hey. And you know what that means?
Yeah.
That's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback.
Yeah.
That's my guy.
They're rehashing what was just happened on the show.
Promised him, come on, God Bless Football. There's no Dan. Stugotz didn't talk to Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
Stugotz thought country music superstar Jake Owen was Aaron Rodgers. They had a 20-minute conversation.
Identical twins. I mean, Jesus.
Now the hey start kind of makes a little bit more sense. Credit to Jake Owen.
Yep.
Because he went with it. Once he
That's
realized what
unbelievable.
was going on.
That's unbelievable.
Paulie's put up on our YouTube stream a side-by-side of Aaron Rodgers and Jake Owen.
It's pretty scary.
Now, they look a lot alike. And when Aaron Rodgers had the long flowing hair, when he was doing the, not having a haircut thing, even more so, but they're definitely different people. There's no doubt about that.
Well, Jake Owen is like, Aaron Rodgers is a big
football
hulking,
player.
good muscly man. Jake Owen is like a skinny. He's got the hair, and they do when they play golf. They look. I've seen Aaron Rodgers in golf attire. They look very similar. He's got the long hair, the beard,
facial hair similar. Yeah.
But the fact that Stugatz did like a full interview with him as Aaron.
It wasn't
Rodgers.
even an interview. It was more just like they had a 20-minute conversation on the driving range.
Right.
And he thought it was.
And he played along with it.
And I'm like, I don't know if they sound alike. Like, oh my God. I don't get it. But sometime after that show, he's like, oh, yeah, he was great. I got to meet my quarterback. He's coming on the show tomorrow because they do their weekly segment, God Bless Football. Who better than Aaron Rodgers, right? And something happened. I didn't listen to the whole show, but something happened after the fact when they go, wait, that's who you talked to?
Yeah.
That guy?
That guy.
That's not Aaron Rodgers. And they're like, screw it. We got to do an emergency show. So then yesterday they have their God Bless Football segment. And here's how that started.
All right, our next guest. I've had sleepless nights. I was up all night. I've been thinking about this all night. I've been running through the entire conversation I had with Jake Owen, who I thought was Aaron Rodgers yesterday. I am mortified, but sometimes, listen, you got to face your demons. And right now, I am facing one of my many demons. Jake Owen is with us.
It's nice to be here.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if you would have ever even had me on your show in general if you hadn't have thought I was Aaron Rodgers.
At what point in our conversation did you decide, hey, I'm just going to sink into this?
Well, I didn't know yet that you thought I was Aaron Rodgers. I just thought you knew me until you said word for word.
Yeah.
You started creeping me out a little bit. Because you're like, oh my God, dude, I'm seriously it went from like an open conversation to like you leaning in, whispering to me. That's how it works. About things that I had no idea what you were talking about. And you're like, yo, man, we are so fired up about you coming to New York City. Bro. And at that moment, I realized I was like, oh, he thinks I'm Aaron Rodgers.
I gotta say, they physically do look similar.
They do.
They don't sound similar.
They don't.
How can he have sat there for 20 minutes with him and not picked up?
It's just embarrassing. Like,
he's never gonna live that down.
Never.
The
It's so good.
this goes to Jake Owen for playing along.
That's
though.
so
That is
good.
amazing.
It's so good.
That
I
is
love
amazing.
that. I love that story. Stugatz is the best. We've had him on a couple times. He's great. Again, I admire his fearlessness.
It makes my stomach hurt thinking about it.
Oh yeah, we've done it. We've mistaken people on the air. You, of course, with Bobby Dickerson, Wayne Kirby. I did it too.
But I couldn't see him at the time.
Well, yeah. it was a base coach that had a heart attack, and you took a shot, a 50-50 shot. It was the wrong one.
Wrong one.
He's like, no,
that wasn't me.
That
was Bobby.
Bobby.
It'd be like Woods mistaking somebody for Manny Machado
out in the wild.
Yeah. Thinking
remember Robert Plant? Remember when I introduced myself to Robert Plant at the steakhouse?
Yep. Yeah.
And I said, Mr. Plant. All right. He was playing Kaboo. It was in Del Mar where we were eating dinner, and he looked just like Robert Plant. And I go, babe, that's Robert Plant. And I lost my mind. And I walked up to him and I go, excuse me, Mr. Plant. And I shook his effing hand. And then when I got up close, I went,
it's not him.
And he didn't sound, he wasn't like, oh, hello, chap. Nice to see you. He was like, hey, how you doing? And I went back to the table. My wife peed a little bit that night from laughter at me.
So did all the Stugatz's hosts, I'm sure.
The red face, the ears. it was horrific. Horrific. You know how much I wanted that to be Robert Plant too? Like, you have no idea. That was the most. I wasn't
as much as Stugatz wanted that to be Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure.
As embarrassed as I was, you know what else I was? I was sad that I didn't get to meet Robert Plant. I was very, very sad.
My only question is, has this story gotten back to Aaron Rodgers, and what is he going to do?
Yeah, that's a good point, because he's a good sport with that.
They'll get him on, I'm sure, at some point.
Anna says in the chat, it was the best night of my life. So, yeah, she'll still be like, hey, remember that time you said, hello, Mr. Plant? And it was not Robert Plant, it was just some guy. out for dinner with a young lady.
And that is don't and do this for a Friday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we'll come back. It is a Friday. It's a Crossing Streams Friday. Craig Elston is going to join us when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Grangetto's Farm and Garden Supply is teaming up with 97.3 The Fan to give one lucky listener the chance to win a luxury suite for 20 people to the upcoming home game on Monday, September 18th versus Colorado. Visit 97.3thefan.sd.com/garden for details and enter to win. Well, the streak comes to an end in about 30 seconds. Haven't had a guest on since Sammy on Monday in the 9 o'clock hour, I believe.
That's crazy.
Now, Craig Elston will break that streak when he joins us for Crossing Streams right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic sponsored by the all-new Premier Cadillac of Carlsbad. Didn't we just have an accident here? Got a new one, northbound side of the 5 before Mile of Cars Way. It's an overturn crash. Got the 2 left lanes blocked. Northbound side of the 805 right before 43rd Street. Stalled car in the 2nd lane from the left. Brought to you by Premier Cadillac of Carlsbad with brand new 2023 Cadillac XT4s and XT5s in stock now. Stop in or shop online at CadillacCarlsbad.com. A proud member of the Premier Carlsbad family of dealers. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Well, Woods tries to fix his YouTube camera. I'll let you know that this hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by Big O Tires. It's the Scorchin' Summer Sales event now at your local Big O Tires. Save up to $100 on select sets of Pirelli and Next Gen tires with installation purchase. Plus, pay 0 interest if paid in full for up to 12 entire months now through July 30th at your local Big O Tires. All right, let's go out to our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. We are joined by our friend Craig Elston. We're going to get some Crossing Streams recommendations. Craig, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben. Good morning, Woods. It's been a couple of weeks. It's great to talk to you guys once again and see you virtually.
Dude,
good to have you back.
How was your trip? Where'd you go? Yellowstone?
We spent no Yosemite. We spent 3 days in Yosemite, and then we spent 2 days in Kings Canyon Sequoia National Park. So really doing up the Central Valley, and had an absolute great time. I mean, some of the truly most beautiful places on earth are right here in the Golden State of California.
No question. And
incredible week.
I saw your pics, and I'm not much of a hiker, backpacker, camper. That said, I think I could be swayed with some of the views that I saw. Now, how much hiking did you actually have to do? Or can you, drive up to the beautiful areas, get out and take pictures?
No, it's a great question. And I'll be, very honest and kind of a National Park Service spokesman here for a second. They work very hard to make the most beautiful, kind of the most important places in these great parks completely accessible to people of all walks of life. My wife's mother, who's in her 80s, was with us on the trip and able to see most of the biggest sites because the key trails are well paved and they make sure to make it to have various grades in terms of physical strenuous activity. So for Yosemite Valley, the real key is getting up early. It's not how hard you have to hike. You have to get into the park before 7 a.m. in order to make sure you have a parking space in the valley because it's incredibly crowded. But many of the sites are a mile loop, a 1.5 mile loop, nothing very strenuous. You can do a lot more than that, but you can see most of the big things without being a buff hiker.
All right, love it.
Craig, let's start with the Padres, start of the second half of the season. And I know on your latest Padres Hot Tub podcast, you had a Padres suggestion box, and they had a couple of interesting ideas that you floated for the Padres here for the second half. What'd you have in mind here?
Well, absolutely, Ben. When you look at this club, 90 games in, 72 games to go, and 4 games under 500, there's plenty of things you can point your fingers at. But I think the Padres do a lot of things as a club very well. And what has hampered them is that they have certain elements of their club that aren't average. They're worst in the league, or way, way, way below average. And so what we did on our Padres Hot Tub suggestion box was, fold up some little pieces of lined paper and drop them in and hope AJ Preller and Bob Melvin will unfold them in terms of small things that could potentially improve the club in big ways. And I want to start with something I've been picking on for the last 3 weeks here, but I really do believe this is one of the key undiscussed problems of the 2023 San Diego Padres. They have, in specific, one player on their roster that I think is being completely misused, and that is Nick Martinez. Nick Martinez was signed to be a bulk inning pitcher for the San Diego Padres. He was assigned ostensibly to be their fifth starter, and wound up kind of being their fifth, sixth starter. And then right on the heels of 7 shutout innings as a starter, he was moved by necessity into a somewhat depleted bullpen, pitched well as a multi-inning reliever, at which point Bob Melvin said, this guy's going so well, he's now going to be our setup guy. And it's been, I think, under-discussed how badly Nick Martinez has performed as this team's setup man. In the last 2 months, he's allowing an OPS of approaching 900. In the month of June, he had an ERA of 8.1 in 12 appearances. And I think very importantly, those 12 appearances covered a grand total of 13 1/3 innings.
Yep.
So here's what I'm driving at, guys. I wanted to get the stats out to make the point, okay? One of my key suggestions for the Padres, which is going to fail starting tomorrow, is eliminate all Ryan Weathers, Reese Kinnear, Matt Waldron innings. Right now, when this team takes one starter injury, they go directly to a group of 3 pitchers who are well below major league replacement level. My suggestion is, and it's dependent upon, I understand that, Steven Wilson and Robert Suarez coming back to this team, but that should happen within a week or so, is put Nick Martinez back in a stretched out role. Make him the first guy out of the bullpen and someone who can handle 2 or 3 innings, because the next time that there is an opening in the starting rotation, there's not Reese Kinnear, the guy that you're paying starter money to pitch. I trust him so much more in a long relief situation than in a leveraged relief situation.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Padres were so thin in the bullpen that they couldn't have done this a couple of weeks ago, even if it would have made some sense. But now, you're right, it does make some sense. Remember, Nick Martinez, he came in through 3 shutout innings against the Phillies in the NLCS after Mike Clevenger's terrible start. He's been very effective many times in that role. And I like the idea of not having to go to a minor league guy when you need that 6th starter or a doubleheader day like tomorrow. To have Nick Martinez ready to throw 3 or 4 innings at least does make a lot of sense.
And we touched on it briefly, Craig. I think it was just me and Paulie when Ben was out. And I you said it too, by necessity. And it's a trust thing. And I think when Bob Melvin looked down there, all of those times in June, he went, let's see, who do I trust? And I think Nick Martinez has kind of probably, you would think, has lost some of that trust as a high leverage guy. But I think at the time, like you said, out of necessity, doesn't have a ton of options down there. And it is going to be fascinating, man, to see how it unpacks. And even as far as like, what's the lineup look like tonight against a guy that has thrown 25 innings, a left-hander? What does it look like? Is Crony riding the pine tonight? You know, one of your more higher paid players, and are you putting a bunch of righties? And we're going to see how it all shakes out. And you know, the Weathers thing tomorrow, we haven't really touched on it yet. Today we're going to, but yeah, the options are just so limited. You know, you feel like Bob's hands are tied in a lot of instances.
Well, and you just brought up Cronenworth, and I'll just wrap the suggestion box portion by kind of combining 2 things into one. Again, the Padres aren't a terrible team. They've got certain positions that are the worst in the league. And I super want to emphasize this every week I'm on the show, and every time I can speak into a microphone about the Padres. The Padres do not need to trade any of their top 5 prospects. In fact, doing so would be essentially criminal. The Padres do not need another superstar on this team. So everyone's like, go get Paul Goldschmidt, go get this or that. There's no way this franchise can afford to pay the price right now that it would take to add one more superstar. They don't need superstars. What they need to do is eliminate the positions that are delivering negative WAR and replace them with zeros. Like literally getting to average at DH and first base would lift this team like a rocket ship off the platform. Okay, so I'm going to combine 2 things into one. There was some reporting by Kevin Acee saying that Matt Carpenter is in danger of being DFA'd at the deadline. What are we waiting for? Okay. If he's not good enough to play 2 weeks from now, he's not good enough to play today or in the next 10 days that are so important. I would DFA Matt Carpenter this morning and have Alfonso Rivas step in as the left-handed DH option and give him a look for a couple of weeks. But combining that, the Padres are 30th out of 30 teams in production at first base. Jake Cronenworth has been a complete failure as a first baseman. Okay, a complete failure. He has been bad defensively, and he's been the worst offensive first baseman in the league. The Padres at the deadline, they don't need to get a superstar. They need to get an average first baseman who could be the DH, but if Cronenworth's struggling, could step in and be the first baseman. In other words, the Padres need to create a circumstance on their roster where Jake Cronenworth doesn't have to play if he's bad. Just like you were talking about, Woodsy, with Nick Martinez. Right now, it's like Nick Martinez has to pitch in the 8th, whether he's bad, good, or indifferent.
Right.
Create a circumstance where you don't have to put a bad situation up front every single night, and you're going to be so much better off. It doesn't have to be a superstar, okay? The Matt Adams of the world, not saying Matt Adams, but an average first baseman that could come in and just relieve the pressure on this kid who's hit 194 as a first baseman all year long without power.
Talking to Craig Elston, and Craig, I could swear we were just counting down your top shows of 2022, but we're already at the midpoint of 2023, and you've got a top 5 from the first half of the year for your Crossing Streams recommendations today.
Absolutely. I'll rattle through them at high speed, knowing where we are against the clock, guys. So, our top 5 shows podcast came out last week on the 4th of July. Find Crossing Streams wherever you get your podcasts. You can hear myself and Lydia Laree go through honorable mentions and whatnot. I'm going to buzz through 5 shows that I thought really were a highlight of 2023 so far, starting with Jury Duty, which I think is one of the most ambitious, funny, heartfelt shows of the year so far. We talked about this a couple of months ago, a mockumentary on Amazon's Freevee channel, where literally one guy is kind of Truman Showed into a situation where he believes he is on a real jury, working on a real case, but everyone around him, from the judge to the bailiff to everyone in the jury to everybody in the case, they are all actors. That's all behind the scenes camera work. A fascinating show that was really funny. And then when you found out how they did it in episode 8, blew my mind. So Jury Duty.
James Marsden playing himself was just nominated for an Emmy as well for Jury Duty.
And yeah, absolutely. And he stole the show. He was so dang funny. So everyone should check out Jury Duty looking for a heartfelt laugh. In fact, heart is 100% the theme of the first 4 shows I'm presenting here. Number 4, Somebody Somewhere, season 2. We mentioned it about 6 weeks ago. One of the most heartfelt shows on television, a place I love to visit every single time I get an opportunity to open an episode. Bridget Everett's show really brings down the stakes, gets you into a small family in Kansas, brings the laughs, brings the love every single week. Number 3 is Barry, and Barry's 4th and final season, challenging it sometimes, but there's no show that was braver and took bigger risks than Barry over its 4 seasons with Bill Hader as the writer, director, and star. The 4th season was the most ambitious of all. Challenging at points, there's no question about it, but a rewatch and some real consideration made me realize just how strong Barry was. It's number 3, but guys, I gotta say, it's a tie at the top. And I never thought I'd be able to say that, because Succession to me is one of the great shows of the 21st century. Yep. It's one of the great shows of the streaming television era. And Succession had its 4th and final season. We did a week by week breakdown of it. It's still my number 1 show, but 1.001, immediately right next to it is The Bear.
Yes.
Season 2.
Unreal.
Yeah. I just saw episode 6 yesterday.
It's unreal.
I'm still shaking.
It's an unreal season of television. It's an unreal season of television. It's incredible.
An absolute triumph. It's an absolute triumph of character. And that's what I love so much about The Bear. The Bear is not about the plot. Okay. Season 1 plot, Carmi inherits a struggling restaurant. Season 2 plot, they're trying to open a new restaurant. Boom. You're done with the plot of The Bear. The plot, it is all about the characters. And Carmi, Richie, who has just a season of seasons in season 2. Natalie,
I love Richie
Marcus,
so much.
Just every single character on the bear it feels like a real person that you could know. The score of the bear is where it's at. This is just a show that hits every spot. I think 5 of the best episodes of television this year are all within season 2 of the bear, including number 6, Fishes, which is absolutely needs to come
I won't
with like
spoil
a
it,
medical
but maybe
warning.
the best guest starring performance I've ever seen in the history of television in that episode by a very well-known actress.
Just say it, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis.
I had no idea.
It's amazing.
I had
like,
no
he kept going,
idea.
I know who this is, but
I
who
had
is this?
no idea until the end. And of course, my latest man crush, John. How do you say it? Bernthal?
John Barenthal.
Barenthal.
Oh,
Bernthal or Barenthal?
I think it's Bernthal.
Bernthal. I am obsessed with. I watched Sweet
and Bob Odenkirk shows up too.
I watched Sweet Virginia last night, which is a movie he's in that was brilliant, and he's the best. Craig, you're the best. Thank you,
Out
Chef.
of time, but thank you.
Thanks, Chef.
Appreciate you, boys.
Heard Craig.
Bye, Chef.
Heard Craig. That was great on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet find new roads. Not everybody thinks so. Ann and Carol steaming mad about Craig's appearance. We'll discuss what Craig just said about her beloved Jake Cronenworth.
I just looked. I think Craig's
coming up
right.
next with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Welcome back. We are halfway home on a Friday, Friday, as it were. Ben and Woods. I'm having the hardest time with this stupid camera here on Ben and
don't
Woods.
touch anything.
If you're watching on YouTube, if you're not, you're just listening on the radio. You don't care. I need to remember people are listening on the radio as well. I do get distracted by the blinding lights of this YouTube camera. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, our executive producer. He's the one that forced this YouTube upon me, but I enjoy it. I do. And to my left is Benjamin Higgins. Good morning, Benjamin.
Good morning, and thanks again to Craig Elston, who just joined us. Got more guests coming up, including John Marks from Philly, WIP, Padres Phillies, bottom of the hour, and it is not only a Friday, it's a Friar Friday with Chris Kemp, Vice President of Amateur and International Scouting for the San Diego Padres, joining us at 9 o'clock. This segment of Ben and Woods is brought to you by the Golf Mart. Craig, with some spicy commentary, though, on your San Diego Padres.
Yeah, and it's not really once you look at it.
Let's listen back one more time. Here's what Craig had to say.
Jake Cronenworth has been a complete failure as a first baseman. Okay, a complete failure. He has been bad defensively, and he's been the worst offensive first baseman in the league. The Padres at the deadline, they don't need to get a superstar. They need to get an average first baseman who could be the DH, but if Cronenworth's struggling, could step in and be the first baseman. In other words, the Padres need to create a circumstance on their roster where Jake Cronenworth doesn't have to play if he's bad.
Ouch.
So Michael in the chat comes with the stats. I looked him up too. His -4 outs above average puts him at 28th in the league, tied with 29th through 32nd, and his defensive run saved is tied for 31st in the league. It's brutal having him there. Now that's those are the deeper numbers. The eye test tells you, well, he picks it better than Hosmer, and he does. But that's the bar for first baseman here
was so
low since Adrian.
So
really,
it feels like a massive upgrade just from the eye test.
He's not committing a ton of errors as far as I've noticed. So what are we talking about? Are we talking about range at first base? Because that's hard for us to see, I think, by the eye test. Is he not getting to balls that other first basemen are getting to? The one that came up to my mind just immediately was in the extra inning loss to the Mets on Friday, 1 week ago today, when they went to extra innings and there was a chop right down the first base line, brought in the first run, led to the 4-run inning and the Padres losing the game. Is that something that maybe an outs above average first baseman, a guy who is in a top 10 in baseball at first base, do they get that ball? Do they stop it? Do they prevent the big inning right there? I don't know. I honestly can't tell you. That range factor is always something that I think that we can't observe necessarily. Some guys will make great diving plays and you go, oh, that guy's got great range, but maybe a better shortstop doesn't even need to dive for some of those balls. So you can't even say, oh yeah, he makes a ton of diving plays, he's got a ton of range. You don't know it. I was watching Francisco Lindor play for the Mets at shortstop, and I go, that guy can't move more than 2 feet either way. He looked terrible.
He looked terrific.
Looked horrible.
He looked terrific. Like, I'd feel more comfortable having Bo at short than Francisco Lindor in that series. He was dropping line drives. He was booting throwdowns to second. He was sailing the ball. Like, it was horrific. It was horrific. Maybe it's just a bad series. I don't watch enough Francisco Lindor. I know he's a good player. I know he's and has been.
But what I'm saying is we can't just watch even a whole season and really tell you necessarily that a guy is a terrible defensive player or a great defensive player. Those numbers are a little beyond us.
Well, sometimes it gets ridiculous because we watch Manny Machado play every single day, and they're like, well, actually, his numbers say, and I'm like, I don't give a. That's where I'm on the fence, and I know that the numbers are important, and I believe in the numbers, and we have Eno Saris on for a reason. Like, I want to know, and I want to know what those eyes are seeing. When I watch Manny Machado play third base, I think to myself, that's a damn fine first baseman or third baseman. That's what I think every single time I watch him, and they will give me these numbers like he doesn't get to as many balls, and I'm like, so I'm not saying take these numbers with a grain of salt. I'm not, because Crony's, he's out of position. It's not his position. He's giving everything he's got and max effort all the time, unlike other first basemen that have been here. But when you're trying to win a World Series, you need more. And Craig's absolutely right. The one area I did disagree with Craig on is Craig says we don't need Paul Goldschmidt. I don't care. I want it. Like, if he's available, bring me Paul Goldschmidt. Not at the price of Salas or a Merrill.
Well, that's the price.
Is it?
I mean,
they said on MLB Network last night, it's not. They said
he's got 2.5 more years?
I think 1 year after this year.
So just through 2024, not through 2025.
Yeah. He's pricey. I mean, he's expensive, but I would be Paul Goldschmidt in the middle of that lineup. Are you kidding me? But we did this. We did this in the offseason. Yes, we did this in the offseason.
We've done this many times before.
I know.
I think Craig's point of you get actually more gains by just turning the designated hitter position into an average, middle of the road than you do upgrading anything else. Just you don't need a superstar. You need someone who's just not dragging you down.
But I mean, Craig says just go get an average first base. When have we seen somebody that was average come here and thrive? In fact, when have we traded for a superstar and they've come here and thrive? That to me is where I just go, what do? You just keep rolling the dice.
And one of the hard parts with Jake Cronenworth is that, maybe he's not performing right now, but it's not as though you're not tied to him for the next 7 years after this. If he's going to be around, you have to give him many, many chances to figure it out and start hitting and playing better. You can't simply go, oh, it's not working. So Jake, you're on the bench for the next 2 months. I know that feels like that could be the right thing to do. You can't just play someone because they're making money. But in baseball, it does kind of work that way sometimes.
Alex says Paul Goldschmidt would come to San Diego and forget how to hit like every other great hitter who comes to San Diego.
So we just saw a new piece from our friend Eno Saris, and I'm sure we'll talk to him about it on Thursday when he joins us next week, that may at least somewhat explain some of the offensive struggles by the Padres at Petco Park, which has turned into, once again, one of the worst offensive ballparks in the league. I think it's third worst offensive park in the league. Now, when Petco Park first opened, it was a terrible offensive park, but then they brought in the fences and, things changed a little bit and it became more of an average offensive ballpark. It wasn't one of the, run depressing parks of the league, but it's becoming that again. And my kind of thought was, well, that's because the Padres aren't hitting with runners in scoring positions. So they're not scoring runs. So their home park doesn't look as good. Eno threw out a theory and was backed by a couple of different players, including Tommy Pham, who came here and didn't hit. And guess what? Now is hitting with the New York Mets. And he said, just don't see the ball, especially with the new ivy that they've put on the batter's eye in center field. Don't see it as well. He also complained about the lighting.
I think he said,
night games.
Quote was, I hate that bitch ass ivy.
He didn't say that.
I could be wrong.
He said even worse than the ivy, he thinks that the lighting isn't bright enough, especially in the early evenings. That
it's like playing a Helix. 4 people will get that reference, but it's like playing an adult baseball game in Helix High. You can't see a thing, nothing. You're like, I'm taking my life in my hands out here. I've never heard that from any other.
It sounds like a stretch to me. And if it was coming from anybody other than Eno, I'd just go, whatever. But it's Eno. And when he says something, I tend to give it quite a bit more credibility than just your average baseball person. You can check it out on The Athletic right now. Big piece. Obviously, he spent a week here in San Diego and went to Petco Park several times and, got some comments and observations and trying to figure out what happens to hitters when they come to Petco Park.
Well, I mean,
it hasn't
look,
been good lately.
Tommy Pham is 850 OPS in New York. I mean, I was excited as hell about him when he got here. He was a really, really good hitter. He was a good hitter, and that's what we signed him to be. And he was a good outfielder, and he got here, and it went off the cliff. And he worked hard and everything else. But I mean, I guess you have no other choice but to believe him. And if you feel like you don't see the ball well somewhere, I'm going to take you at your word. And I do think that's an interesting theory. I mean, I think we've talked about it before too, but what do you do? You rip it down and throw the blue back to the
dark painted wall out there, the big bleak wall in center field on the batter's eye, the back of the stage there at the Gallagher Square.
Whatever it takes, I guess. I don't know, but Eric Krupner's probably losing his mind right now.
I think the ivy looks really good. I think it was
I think it looks fantastic. If the hitters hate it and they suck, then get rid of it. Give them whatever they want. Give them whatever they want. Make this team hit a little bit better.
Turn it into one of those magic eye puzzles.
Grish is just staring at it in center field as the ball sails over his head.
I see it. It's an elephant. It's an elephant. I see it now.
Yeah, I see it.
I would stare at those things for like 20 minutes.
No.
I don't see anything
you
at
have
all.
To unfocus your eyes and cross
look
your
past
eyes.
It. Pretend you're looking 5 feet past it.
Yeah, look through it. Your eyes are crossed. There was a time and place for those in the early 90s. Might have had one in my room at some point.
Magic eye
puzzles. Oh,
it will reveal a secret message. I can't see it.
Did you never get them?
I got them eventually.
Yeah.
Like it took forever.
Like 40 minutes it would take you to get it.
I hated it.
I don't
so
want
much.
I don't want that much work at just looking at art. You know
Did
what
you
I'm
sell
saying?
those with your motivational posters?
I don't know that those were in when I sold motivational posters out of the back of my
Which is
trunk.
a real thing.
It's a real thing
haven't
I've
heard
done.
that.
Yeah. Courage, with the bald eagle.
A cat hanging from a branch. Hang in there.
Hang in there.
Things you see on like a 6th grade classroom wall.
Yeah. And then like
somebody's got to buy those. And somebody's got to sell them.
In these old barber shops, you'll have like motivation and a guy like climbing a glacier or something. So I had a Isuzu something. It was like a hatchback. And I would just have all the posters and would just go business to business.
Take a picture of me right now. Make a poster. Excruciating
moron. Paulie, can you create the motivational poster that says excruciating
moron?
There he is. I took the picture. I'll send it to you. No, so whatever helps this team hit. Benny. I don't think it's something they're going to do mid-season. Did he talk to any current?
I haven't finished. It was, it's a long Eno piece, and it just dropped a few minutes ago. So
I love long Eno pieces very much.
Maybe we shouldn't have given him the day off yesterday. We could have gotten into this with him.
Working on this banger. Yeah.
Just dropped it today. So, we'll look forward to that next Thursday when we next chat in our Smart Baseball segment with Eno Saris from The Athletic. All right, let's take time out. We'll check traffic. We're going to come back still to join us this hour. Talk about the Philadelphia Phillies, one of the hotter teams in baseball before the All-Star break. Rematch of the National League Championship Series coming up. 4 games starting today in Philadelphia. We'll talk to John Marks coming up with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Padres have talked about it.
Yeah.
Repeatedly. We have also, but you've heard it from players. You've heard it from coaches. Just about everywhere that there's no time to waste for the Padres if they want to get back into this race. Yet you often see decisions, and we mentioned this earlier. You can't manage every game like it's Game 7 of the World Series.
Can't.
But the Padres continue to make decisions that don't feel like they're the most urgent in the world. One of those being starting Ryan Weathers in one of the 2 games of the doubleheader tomorrow, along with Blake Snell. So the pitching matchups for this upcoming series against the Philadelphia Phillies, Yu Darvish scheduled to throw today. Blake Snell and Ryan Weathers are going to go tomorrow. Seth Lugo.
What's the order there? Is it that's the
I don't
order?
know who's going from the first game and who's going in the second game.
You think it's dependent on anything?
Probably not. I'm sure Bob Melvin has already told
them.
Blake Snell and Ryan Weathers which game they are pitching. I just don't know which one is which. Seth Lugo on Sunday, and then Joe Musgrove is scheduled to start on Tuesday in the series opener in Toronto. I got this tweet in from Trevor. He says, it's an absolute travesty. They're throwing Bleepy Weathers out there for the second game of the doubleheader rather than a fully rested Musgrove. Are they serious about making a playoff push? The point being that, everyone's had the All-Star break. Joe pitched the last game before the All-Star break on Sunday, but he could go on Saturday with 5 days of rest.
Absolutely.
And, be teamed with Blake Snell. And you go with Lugo on Sunday. Now,
so you go Darvish, Snell, Musgrove, Lugo.
It would make the possibility of who goes on Tuesday a little more of a question, because if Michael Wacha is not ready to come off the injured list. Now, if you had Wacha ready, to me, then that would make perfect sense.
Yeah.
Just go with I know you'd love to give Joe some extra rest, but maybe 5 days is just going to have with the doubleheader. Maybe you're just going to have to go with that. It tells me that they probably don't think that Michael Wacha is going to be ready, that they're going to need that 6th starter either in the doubleheader game or on Tuesday in Toronto. And you might as well make it the doubleheader game, because at least in that sense, the other team will probably also be up against it a little bit, being a doubleheader. But if Michael Wacha is ready to come back from his shoulder fatigue, you absolutely could have a little more urgent, let's say, of a starting rotation lineup coming out of the All-Star break here.
I mean, I saw people saying, well, why aren't they calling up Jay Groom? Jay Groom is maybe having the worst, which is just amazing after the spring he put together. It's just been rough for him.
Weather's numbers much better.
Much better
than Groom's.
Jay Groom's almost a 9 ERA, and his whip, Benny, is 2. I mean, that can't happen.
Now, since they sent Weathers down the last time he struggled,
he's pitched better.
He's had a couple of excellent starts. Really, double-digit strikeouts, really good. He's had a couple of not so good starts either. Inconsistency isn't great, but the good thing about inconsistency means every once in a while you're pitching well also. Yeah. And I think the Padres are kind of hoping that they get good Weathers, and then they can hopefully send good Weathers, and then they can hopefully send them back to El Paso and go back to their regular 5-man rotation if Michael Wacha is ready to return. Now, if Michael Wacha doesn't come back and be Michael Wacha, you're just adding another degree of difficulty for the Padres in the second half of the season trying to come back.
Who did they play after the Phillies? The Blue Jays?
Blue Jays and the Tigers. A lot of people are also asking, why are they playing a doubleheader on Saturday?
I have no idea.
I tried to come up with a theory, but nothing really fit. Apparently, someone tweeted me and said, in exchange for making the All-Star break 4 days now. Remember, it used to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then most teams came back and played on Thursday after the All-Star break. It was a 3-day break. Now every team gets 4 days. The trade-off in the CBA was that every team has to play one doubleheader somewhere to make up for that lost day.
And this happens
to be the Phillies and Padres' turn to play a doubleheader. They're doing it out of the break. They don't have to. Both teams have Monday off. So the Padres could theoretically just play 10 games, 10 days on this road trip and not have a doubleheader. If there was a rain out, they could play on Monday, one of those games as well. But it's a scheduled doubleheader. It's there. And then they get that day off on Monday to reset as they head to Toronto go north of the border for the first time in several years.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's doubly hard, right? Because you have the doubleheader. You're going to use a lot of arms that day, you would imagine, and Blake Snell's going to give you 5 or 6, really, really good. And if history holds, 5 or 6, you got to count 3 there. What are you really asking from Weathers? What day gives you 3 really good innings? I don't know that you push them beyond that, right? So then there's 6 innings you got to cover. You got to cover a full game essentially with those 2 pitchers. With your bullpen, 9 innings you're going to have to figure out on Saturday.
So you're hoping for at least 7 from Darvish today.
Yeah.
To keep the bullpen usage to a minimum.
Well, and then you go right into Toronto, and you
get the day off on Monday to reset everything.
Yeah,
now.
that's true.
Because
true.
of the doubleheader, you
Reset.
don't have to play. So,
and again, maybe it makes. And I don't know. I haven't heard when Wilson is coming back, and I haven't heard when Suarez is coming back. So I don't know. I mean, reinforcements would be
latest
lovely.
reports are that Wilson, maybe even as soon as the Philadelphia series, maybe even today, and then Suarez possibly also soon, but wouldn't expect him necessarily with the team right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's a lot of things. It feels a bit dire because a lot of things really have to fall your way, and then if you do that, it can't be a situation where he comes in, Ben, and just gets lit up for six runs in the first, and then you got to cover more innings.
Well, I agree. You can't, as we said, you can't manage every game like it's a playoff series, but you can also be giving away opportunities to win games. And
who's he going up again? We don't know.
We don't know exactly which game they're starting. Okay. So, the Phillies, the pitcher they're missing is actually Nola. I don't know if they just needed extra rest for him or if he's hurt, but they'll get they'll get Rangers Suarez, Wheeler, and
the kid tonight
is the one that we didn't know, the lefty tonight that we didn't know a ton about, that is starting Christopher Sanchez going for the Phillies in tonight's game. So
it's
now you know what, they get a win from Weathers. That feels like a huge bonus.
Yes.
I mean, it's like, okay, now we're on a roll. We get that win. You feel really good about where you are going to the rest of the week with a rested Musgrove ready to go on Tuesday. I mean, he's 7-0, I think, in his last 7 decisions. He's been pitching fantastic. Then you start resetting back to Darvish and Snell. You could go on Wednesday and Thursday if you wanted to do that if Waka wasn't ready. Yeah, everything looks great if you get a decent effort from Ryan Weathers. But if he comes in and gives up, 6 runs in 2 innings, and now you're killing your bullpen and you're probably losing a game, it has a domino effect.
That's tough. So again, very unenviable positions for Bob Melvin, AJ Preller right now. But listen, I mean, at some point, guys are going to have to step up and do their jobs. Just do your job. Ryan, 3 innings, 4 innings, whatever you can do. Go out there and pitch like the first round draft pick that you were. And, now's the time. Now is absolutely the time. If you want to, help this team win and you want to help this city get a championship and make the playoffs, this is the time. And I want to change my thinking of not being so, doom oriented, and I'm going to be rooting my tail off for the kid. But I will admit, when it came out yesterday, the first thing that popped into my mind, probably conditioned a little bit, was cool punt. Great punt. Do we feel okay out of the options of the Waldron? And Waldron pitched okay, pitched 4 innings or whatever he pitched. He was fine. Gave up a couple runs. Out of those options, he's your best option of Kinnear, Waldron, Weathers? Who's a better option if you're not going to throw?
I'd probably say it is Weathers. And now I don't know that Morejón, Martinez, Day is not a better option than Weathers.
Sounds okay. Sounds okay to me. We'll see.
We'll know after Saturday.
That's
Ryan Weathers gives you 4 or 5 innings, 1 run. We'll go, man, that was a great decision.
Good call
by AJ and Bob.
If it blows up, though, holy smokes.
They have
could set you up for
really put themselves in a tough spot on this road trip.
Again,
Paulie, you have not commented at all. You've been
very busy.
Busy over there.
You tasked me with a homework assignment about 15 minutes ago. I think I've delivered a motivational poster
of Benjamin Higgins.
Ben Higgins. You even sent me the picture.
Yeah. Excruciating moron.
Put it up on the chat here. You let me know how I did.
If you can't see it,
I love the bucolic setting.
It is. It is
black and white. It's me in front of a placid, serene lake. with a wry, knowing smile, and underneath it says "excruciating moron," spelled correctly. Very nice.
Well, you act like you're surprised.
No, just
spell check's a wonderful thing.
It is. That's fantastic. Yeah, I could have moved a lot of those posters out of the back of my. Who is this guy? Oh, don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, put this up in the old barber shop.
Be on walls of mediocre businesses everywhere.
I would like a print of that to hang in my home.
In the studio here. We just start adding
$10.
We should start adding motivational posters. Do you still have a hookup? Do you have a source?
You have a guy?
Do you have a guy?
The guys that I worked
You were
for.
the guy.
No, the guys that I worked for in that job.
The wholesalers.
I didn't realize it at the time, but they 100% did cocaine at 8:30 in the morning before the motivational sales meeting that we had every morning. There were 2 guys. They were so wheels off.
Did you meet them like in the back of a van?
I answered an ad.
They would come,
and I went to a warehouse,
give you a bunch
of
posters.
Stock up on the posters, and then
at least they came from a warehouse.
They were in an actual warehouse, but yeah, they were zooted out of their tree at 8:30 in the morning.
Was this in Texas?
Yeah,
motivational poster warehouse in Texas.
Yeah, that's when I was a motivational poster
salesman. All right, let's take a break. We got John Marks, who's always one of our favorites from WIP in Philadelphia, set to join us when we come back with Bennett Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This segment of Ben and Woods brought to you by the Golf Mart. We've got John Marks standing by, WIP in Philadelphia, and you hear him nationally here on The Fan on CBS Sports Radio. We'll get to him right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan. Let's go out to our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Always a pleasure to welcome back onto Ben and Woods, John Marks, WIP in Philadelphia. I mean, Eagles training camp's just days away, so.
Yo, dudes. What's going on? Yeah, 13 days from Eagles training camp.
I know.
And by the way, the Eagles are the most boring team in the NFL because they're so good and their roster is great. Like, what the hell am I going to talk about with the Eagles right now? I don't do positional battles, and I'm not talking about the backup linebacker. So, no, man, I'm embracing this Philly second half.
Good for you. I'm looking at the Philly weather today, and it says there's a marginal risk of severe weather today. We've been waiting all week, John, to get some baseball back in us here in San Diego. What are the chances we get this game in tonight?
Yeah, when you hear that, it just means at some point there's a possibility there could be thunderstorms and torrential rain, but it won't last very long. It'll be done after 15, 20 minutes. So you might get a rain delay, but that's about it.
All right, so going into the break, John, the Philadelphia Phillies, I think I mentioned at the start of June, there were 7 games under 500, which is right around where the Padres were just a few days ago. Now they are right in the thick of things. They've played some of the best baseball. What changed for the Phillies over the last month and a half?
Man, I mean, and you're so right. Really, June was carried by their starting pitching. They got a couple guys healthy. They figured out who their 5th starter was. They were using bullpen games for a while, and they still use some bullpen games in June. But for the most part, Nola has just been consistent. Zach Wheeler has been pretty good. Ranger Suarez came back from injury, and he's been good. And Taijuan Walker, who the Phillies signed in free agency, and he did not have a good start. He's been really good for the last 6 weeks or so. The offense is still kind of hit or miss. So some nights you'll get some potent offensive performances. Other nights they'll be 1 for 13 with runners in scoring position, and they're putting up 1 or 2 runs. But really, I would say they're playing complementary baseball. Their starting pitching's been good. Their bullpen's been really good, and their offense has been kind of hit or miss. But pitching has really, really gotten them where they are right now. Yeah. Yeah, it's so hard when you look at teams in baseball. The Mets have the highest payroll. The Yankees have been spending tons of money for years. The Phillies are a top payroll. The Padres are a top payroll. The Dodgers are. So it's hard to buy a championship, right? Like when I look at the Phillies, and there's a lot of talk right now, and it's like, okay, what do they need to add at the trade deadline? Like is your team interested in Shohei Ohtani? We'll play this game for the next couple of weeks, and then Ohtani's going to go to a team where he's not. But like chemistry with this team, with this Phillies team, to me, is what makes them special. And you could go out and you can add a big primetime bat and put him in left field and make Kyle Schwarber the full-time DH. But is that going to work with the whole dynamic of the team?
Right.
You guys know this. Like the Padres teams that have been good because everybody got along and everybody was pulling in the right direction and there was a real chemistry. And I don't want to ruin that. So I want guys that are happy to get 2 starts a week or a start a week and be able to come off the bench. I want guys that are comfortable with being replaced defensively because they're not the best defensive team. And right now with the Phillies, and I think this is what you saw last year too when they made the run to the World Series, is that it's just working. Like the chemistry's working, and they have enough talent. They're talented. And anything with a trade or bringing anybody else in here, I worry would ruin that chemistry. And honestly, you guys are in it every day. I'm viewing from the other coast, but when I look at the Padres, I wonder if chemistry is the issue. It's certainly not talent with the team.
Well, we've talked about the same, things over and over again. They continue to insist that it's not, that everyone, even if they're not best of friends, they all get along. They're all pulling in the same direction. For some reason, they just haven't been able to put it together. But I think both these teams, John, have the experience of last year. Neither of them won their division. Both of them had to take, the long route, and both ended up in the National League Championship Series. Of course, Phillies made it all the way to the World Series. That should probably serve both teams well for where they are right now, just having that experience to draw on from last year.
Yeah, for sure. And I think the Padres are dangerous because a lot of people are looking at the Padres and being like, all right, well, they're probably not going to make a run, and what's going on? They should trade Soto before the trade deadline because it's going to be a free agent. Tatis, maybe try to trade him. And it's honestly where I would want to be if I was a team right now, which is kind of forgotten.
Slept on.
With the extra wild card, and you had said it, it doesn't matter if you win 86 or 87 games. If you get in the playoffs, like the Phillies proved last year, you can make a run to the World Series, Padres as well. So I'm not sleeping on the Padres. I don't believe as much in the Mets just because I don't know. Like if they fire Buck Showalter, that seems like maybe a managerial change would help them a little bit. I don't know if that's going to happen, but something's got to change with the Padres. It changed with the Phillies in the month of June, and I would not be surprised if the Padres, when it's all said and done, is a 90-plus win team and right back in the playoffs.
Talking to our pal John Marks here, I wanted to get I love to get, when I talk to hosts in cities that have more than one major sports team, I like to get the temperature on the fan base. Are you do this every day like we do? Are they bought in for the Phillies? Are they going to do like they did last year and just kind of wait and see, and then get really, because the fan base here, obviously 41,000 a night, John, they're still packing this place. It's bananas, and we want to deliver for them, but Philly, obviously, you got a lot more options out there.
Yeah, so the rule of thumb with the Phillies is that you need to not only be relevant by the time preseason football starts, like you need to have grabbed the attention of the city. And there were a couple of years there when Gabe Kapler was the manager. They were actually in the wild card lead. Like if the playoffs would have ended in September or whenever the date was, they would have been in the playoffs. And there's like 17,000 people at the ballpark because although the standings said, hey, this is a good team, nobody actually believed it. And they weren't a good team. This team's different. They have personality. They play with a style. Bryce Harper is obviously Bryce Harper. Kyle Schwarber, for all his defensive misgivings, and he is hitting under 190, he still hits home runs. It's a fun team, and for sure, and coming off a World Series as well, you're going to get a lot of advanced ticket sales. So
sure.
the park's been pretty packed. But has there been a buzz for the Phillies? Yeah, in June, you got the buzz for the Phillies. So if they want to keep that, and they want to keep the buzz of the city right now, because last year, the Eagles were undefeated, and we were talking Phillies every day, right? Which is crazy to be able to take a break from the Eagles in the middle of the season, and we did it. So as big as the Eagles are here, if the Phillies are really good, they'll be able to steal some of the attention Monday through Saturday. Then Sunday hits, then you're going to pay attention to that game. But Phillies fans are in, and we're ready to go, and we're hoping for the same kind of second half that we had last year.
Let me ask, given 9 months of perspective since the NLCS, because I still remember what a punch in the stomach Bryce Harper's home run off Robert Suarez was. How iconic now is that moment? Maybe it would have been more had they gone on and won the World Series and not just gotten there. But
one of the best ABs I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, you hate having to always tip your cap to the opposition, but that's one time where you can do nothing but tip your cap to Bryce Harper
or bring in Josh Hader
for such a phenomenal. Or bring in Josh Hader.
You could have done that.
Still mad at Bob Melvin. How do you go 3 straight days without bringing in Josh Hader?
That was another thing we could have done, is bring in Josh Hader there. But what do I know?
Yeah, it was like, and I think we were all saying the same thing and saying thank you for keeping him in. But it was an iconic moment in the history of Philadelphia sports for sure. And when we go to we go to spring training every year. Bryce always sits down with us, our show, and he gives us a good 20 minutes. We don't feel rushed. We don't feel like that he's just answering questions and he just wants to leave. And I asked him, I said, do you realize that for decades and decades, that hit is one of the biggest moments in the history of Philadelphia sports? And he knows it, and he does, and he talked about it. And if you go back and you look at his reaction to it, he said that he almost felt like he was in slow motion after he hit it.
Yeah.
And everything just slowed down, and he could see like fans in the stadium and see their face and everything like that. It was almost like a movie script how he hit it. And, you guys signed Manny and we got Bryce that same year, and I think it's worked out for both teams. But Bryce has been a really, really good fit, and he had his moment. That was his moment, and it's one of the biggest we've seen in the city.
Always remember, there's another side to that coin somewhere else. A team that that feels it. And
well, you're welcome for that moment, John.
Well, listen, we still talk about your singing group. We'll be talking about bring that back up.
John, I told you. I specifically told you.
Oh, you son of we're not convinced that that's not what's wrong with this season still as well. That they have that curse didn't just last one series, but it's lingered for another 9 months into this season.
Man.
You guys are like 10 games under 500 since that song.
Easily. Yeah. Yeah. It's
John, great stuff as always. And for people who want to hear more from John, so you got a regular slot now. You can hear us on Sundays, right? 7 to 10 Pacific time. So you're on late nights on the East Coast, but pretty prime time on Sunday night, wrapping up the weekends that you can hear on CBS Sports Radio and here on 97.3 The Fan.
And I want to shout out to all the listeners on The Fan because I get great calls, great feedback from San Diego. It really is one of the top affiliates that we have on my show. So I appreciate everybody listening out there.
Well, we love you, man. We love the work that you do. We appreciate it. So, say hi to Devin for us. We love her as well. Came on with us last year. She's awesome. She taught us what John means, and we've really enjoyed that.
We still don't know.
And we still
it's
really
played, by the way, it's played. The whole John.
Yeah, it's played. Over. It's like
it's been played for a couple of years.
It's like much like Stay Classy, San Diego. When we
that's played.
Yeah, we see that and we start to rage. But we really appreciate you guys.
You're saying that's what's in. That's not what's
in. All right, guys, have a good week.
Paulie, how dare you? How dare you? We are cursed.
John Marks on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Kind of the opposite of where Sammy goes, the champagne flows. They're working against each other, but you want to hear Sam Levitt's podcast, Inside San Diego Baseball. You can hear him cover everything going on with the Padres. Just find it at 97.3thefansd.com, the Odyssey app, or wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah, John's a good guy.
He's awesome, man. I love him. He's great.
He's not a too full of himself sports talk host. Doesn't take it too seriously, but he knows his stuff. I always feel like that's the perfect kind of sweet spot for a sports talk radio.
He's a great dude. Great dude.
I wanted to wish a quick congratulations. See, the Philip and Tiffany Rivers are expecting again. Number 10 on the way.
Wow.
You see these bags under my eyes?
Yeah, you get two. 10. They got 10. They're going to have 10. They got 9 with 10 on the way.
I have so many questions. When I saw it, I thought to myself, so it's obviously a team sport in that house, and there's older kids that they make their own food, they make their own bed, they
help take care of the younger kids.
It's not 10 kids under the age
it's like
of
a
11.
sweatshop.
I put my
children producing sweatshop.
I put myself in those shoes, and I pictured Hannah saying like, well, we finally got the 9 kids to bed. Do you feel like making love right now? There's no way in history. There's no chance that she'd be like, hey, they're all asleep. Are you ready to work on number 10? There's no way. No chance. 0. Hard enough with 2. And I mean, that is you have a team now. You have a starting 9 and a bench player.
I remember how difficult it was for Shelly to be pregnant. She had 2 very hard pregnancies.
Yeah. The first one, Hannah, too, the first one was so bad. You're like, you really want to do this again?
And you think about Tiffany Rivers. Now, this will be the 10th pregnancy. They've been married, 17 years?
Yeah.
Way back to, I mean, they were like married in college.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that means she's been pregnant about half of their marriage. Unbelievable.
Clearly, she's fine.
I mean, they're doing it. It's a beautiful family. It really is.
They really are. Yeah, but like, I pictured like, and then from what I understand, kids get older and they start to eat more. Now he's got dough. He's got dough for days. But even him, he's like, hey, all right, so I'm going to the grocery store. I need 14 gallons of milk. I need 250 eggs. I need 14 boxes of cereal. And now you got to buy diapers for the little one. It's a nightmare. It's the thought of it gives me the worst anxiety I've ever had. I can't imagine having more than 2. And 2 is plenty. And 10 running around. It's beautiful. It's great. But holy cow, man.
By the way, speaking of going to the grocery store, did you see the photo that was going viral yesterday of Lionel Messi just kind of going shopping at the supermarket for himself?
Yeah, Lucky Charms in there.
Yeah.
He's probably for his family,
he
right?
had a lot of breakfast cereal in there.
Right, for his
I
family.
have no idea. What does his family look like?
I don't know.
I mean, he just arrived in Florida. He's starting to play for Inter Miami.
He's at Publix.
Publix at the supermarket, and he's just filling up his cart.
So he's got
pretty much unbothered. This is a guy who in Europe is maybe one of the most famous people there. They can't go like 5 feet without security, being mobbed everywhere. But in this country, go to the supermarket. No one, one person wanted a selfie and took a picture of him with his shopping cart of various breakfast cereals.
I'm counting like 3 boxes of cereal at least.
Sugary cereal too.
Yeah, it looks like maybe some shredded mini wheats, some Lucky Charms for sure. I can make that out. And then Fruit Loops.
Fruit Loops
I see some Fruit Loops in there. It says got to be kids.
Not exactly training table.
He's an elite athlete. Well, he's an elite athlete. He
needs
works
some carbs.
Well, he can eat whatever he wants. Like Michael Phelps is like, I used to eat 45,000 calories a day. Doesn't really work for us, but that is incredible. Man.
Maybe he's shopping for Philip Rivers' family.
Walking around in a Publix, Lionel Messi. It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, literally one of the most famous people on the planet.
Somebody's saying it might be Reese's Pieces
cereal, the orange one. Yeah, could be Frosted Mini Wheats. Could be Reese's Pieces. Likes his sugary cereals, or maybe his family.
It's
does.
like that time I saw Robert Plant at the restaurant. I was blown away.
I was going to say, is this a fake? Is that really Messi?
That's him.
That's really Messi.
That's him. He took a picture with the guy.
All right, it's Friar Friday. Our management report guest is going to be Padres Vice President of Amateur and International Scouting, Chris Kemp. Just finished the draft. Going to talk to Chris coming up next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Final hour of the week of Ben and Woods. Final hour of the show that we don't have any Padres baseball to talk about for the last few days. It'll be good to have it back this weekend.
In theory, yeah.
In theory, weather permitting. Yeah. I have to imagine that they'll get at least 1 or 2 games in, hopefully,
I would hope
before
so.
Monday when we come back.
Well, you want them to go well. You want them to go really well.
Even if they play one, they just need to win it.
That's exactly
one
right.
at a time, as it were. And the Padres taking on the Phillies at 3:05 this afternoon. 2:05 pregame show. Yu Darvish is on the mound. It's Friar Friday, though, which means it's time for our management report. And joining us right now on our premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. We used to have an open, didn't we? For the
I haven't had one all year.
It's not this season. I'm thinking of last season. We've got the Padres Vice President of Amateur and International Scouting on the heels of the MLB draft. Chris Kemp is with us here on 97.3 The Fan. Sorry we didn't have an open for you, Chris, but good morning.
All good. How are you guys doing?
We're good. We're good. Well, I've been waiting to make this joke for a while. 2 heads are better than 1, and for the second time, you guys have drafted someone named Head. It was Hudson Head a few years ago, and this year it's Dylan Head with your first overall pick. Tell us kind of, what you liked about Dylan Head and why you guys decided to make him your first-round selection.
Man, he's one of the fastest players in the country, but the swing's real. Kind of that chance to be a plus bat and an 80-run tool, and he's tough as nails. I mean, this dude literally run through a wall, work ethic, all that stuff. So, that combination of speed and hit, and he's tough as hell. So I like that trio.
I know Woods understands what you mean, but for everybody else, can you explain the grading system for tools when you say he's an 80-run tool player, an 80-grade runner? What does exactly that mean? And how do
any guy from the left-hand side, if you're running 3 9s, that's an 80 grade. That's top of the scale. You've got your watch home to first, and you get a 3.95, 3.92. That's elite. I think you'll see some guys like Fernando, when Fernando's really going from the right side, like on a jailbreak ground ball, he'll run some 4.0s. Dylan Head from the left side, we've got like 3.9. So he's on that same type of speed as Fernando when he really gets it going. And then like a 60, like he's got a chance to be a 60 bat. That's like, an above average bat in the big leagues, plus bat, the guy that could hit 290, 300 and a chance to be an all-star.
But 80 is the best you can get on your grading scale. It's like it goes from 20 to 80, which doesn't make a lot of sense necessarily to non-baseball people. Like, why doesn't it just go from 0 to 100?
To 100, yeah.
But they do from 20 to 80 for some reason. And I feel like people don't understand, well, if 80, that's pretty good, but there's still obviously some room for improvement. No, that's the top of the scale.
Yes, sir.
No, I love that. And it's funny. We're talking to Chris Kemp here. He's the Vice President of Amateur and International Scouting for the San Diego Padres. And, Chris, you got to get up early for this gig. You come in and we complain about it a lot, 4-hour show. And if the day that you guys in the scouting department work a 4-hour day will be the first day, I would imagine. So walk us through just what the, I know it's a year-long process. And, what's interesting to me, you got scouts all over the place, and they're constantly I would imagine everybody wants their guy, right? So you got scouts and they're texting you and they're texting age. Oh, no, you got to believe, you see it to believe it, right? How hard is it to sift through all of the noise, all of the BS, frankly, and go out and look at that?
Yeah, no, I like the stability of our group, with our scouts. I'm always on the phone with these guys weekly, year round. So I know if I do get that call from, Timmy Reynolds in NorCal or Stubby in Atlanta, or Johnny Martin down in Tampa, when they call me, you can hear it in their voice. Okay, I need to get on a plane. When they see something, they're like, hey, there's only 2 scouts here and this guy's up to 95. We got to be here at the next outing, or whatever the case is. There's a million different cases that come up. I know our guys and I trust our group. So to filter it, not that hard, but just sometimes you run out of days and you can't be everywhere at once.
For sure. And the interesting thing too about this organization and the work that you guys have done, there is no doubt there has been a very keen eye and a bunch of keen eyes for talent. For you guys, though, that have to go out and find these guys, you draft them, you sign them, you're with them through that process. And then a lot of times, a lot of these guys have been moved to other teams. And there was a graph the other day that said, I think the Padres were 4th as far as like getting players to the majors. They didn't all play for San Diego, but a lot of the talent you see across baseball. For you guys, Is it hard to let go of some of those guys that you drafted?
Yeah, it's extremely hard. Anybody we put our heart into and sign, it really is. It's a family, and whether you're coming into our player development and you're 1-2 years in, like our scouts are checking in. We're going to the affiliates to watching you play. We're coming to instructs checking on you. Hey, how's mom and dad? So anytime we lose someone, it's really tough. But on the flip side of that, AJ sees a move or a trade that's going to help the big league team. So you kind of learn to flush it and move on.
Talking to Chris Kemp, Padres Vice President of Amateur and International Scouting, and I want to talk about the international part of that.
Oh, yeah.
This week, we learned the Padres are going to open next season in South Korea for the first 2 games against the Dodgers, where Ha-Sung Kim comes from, and play in that same stadium where the Kiwoom Heroes, his team, played. But you actually drafted a guy, the last pick in the 20th round, out of Korea. Got to be an interesting story via the New Mexico Military Institute. Tell me about B.Y. Choi.
Man, he came across my radar probably mid-spring, and we got this guy out there hitting 600, and I'm going, what's going on here? And it's he's 6'4", he is from Seoul, Korea. He came over here, found his way there. Via email, video, YouTube. He ends up at this junior college, and he's just killing it. So we sent Will Scout, our area scout, over there.
You have a scout?
His name's Will Scout?
Will Scott.
Oh, Scott. Okay. I was like, that's too good to be true right there.
Yeah, Will Scott goes over there, and he comes back with a report, and he's sending video, and it's like, holy cow, like, this guy looks really interesting. So he comes to our pre-draft workout in Arizona. We do one every year at the complex, and we did 10 or 12 regional workouts across the country. B.Y. Choi was the only kid that showed up before we got there. We usually get there 2-3 hours early, get the field set up. We're lining up to 60. We're making sure we've got everything ready to go. B.Y. Choi sitting on the park bench in Peoria, Arizona, waiting on us to get set up.
I love that.
And he loves to play. You get up on him, he's huge. He plays everywhere in the infield. I love the left-handed swing. And then you start hearing his story and how much love he has for the Padres and Ha-Sung Kim, and it all just kind of matched up. We always talk about we want guys that want to be here.
Yeah.
And when the talent matches up and your tools match up and you have the heart and just really the drive to be in San Diego, I wanted to find a way to make it happen.
That's pretty cool. Talking to Chris Kemp here on Ben and Woods this morning. I want to talk about Ethan Salas. I mean, every day I'm seeing bomb, double, OPS soaring, and probably most importantly, Chris, is his ability, from what I gather, his ability to catch and throw and block and everything that comes along with. He looks like the body type, and he looks like a guy that should be catching in the big leagues sooner than later, right? Even at 17 years old, he's fast tracked and he's tearing it up, man. Tell us a little bit more about him.
And I'm just kind of keeping my head down, we kind of, to say we expected it, obviously the signing bonus, he's ranked number 1, but you're still like, hey, 17 years old going to full season, you don't really know what's going to happen a lot of these times, right? And for him to do what he's doing, we're just so proud of him, and that's really all I can say. I'm just super proud of Ethan. We talked about, not jokingly, but when he was young and we were going through the press, hey, he looks like a Venezuela Joe Mauer, was always kind of the look and the comp.
Yep.
And, he's right now he's on track. So, just really proud of Ethan, man. And I know it's going to get harder for him. The target's on his back now every stadium he goes to at that age, and people waiting around for autographs and stuff. And it's like, things are moving fast, man, but he's a pro. He's so even keeled. He's so calm. And, I know Riley and Mike Daly, those guys on the farm, they got him surrounded. He's in a good spot.
I think I saw your quote, and correct me if I'm wrong, but because you can't go to this well very often, best prospect you've ever scouted before you guys signed him.
Yeah, at the time when we first saw him, and he was kind of getting on the scene, he takes a couple of those swings and he throws like a 1-9 at, 13, 14 years old. And, me and Trevor Shum kind of look at it, like, dude, this might be the best guy we've ever scouted. You kind of have those talks as you're going through it, and you don't really get a chance to say that much.
I wanted to ask you too. So obviously you got to draft guys, and you also get guys you want to be here, and by that you mean guys that want to sign here, and guys that want to sign with you guys. That's obviously the other challenge. You got to draft them, you got to scout them, then you got to sign them and make sure they're here and get them in the right spot. How do you guys feel about your recent class and the signability of most of these guys?
I think we're going to sign them all. Carson Montgomery in the 11th round out of Florida State. He's with Team USA last year. In the fall, he was 94, 97. We had kind of top 50, almost borderline first round reports. And, Carson didn't have probably the spring he wanted, fell a little bit in the draft. And we thought in the 11th round, this could be a huge steal. He's represented by Scott Boras and those guys. So not going to be easy, but feel really good about Carson wanting to be here. He knows Rob Marcello, our pitching coordinator. So we've got, a good connection there to get Carson going. So, I think that one stands out. 12th round Blake Dickerson, high school Team USA guy. Once again, probably didn't come out and have the spring he wanted. Came out, 85, 88. I think some scouts and some teams didn't scout him to the wire. Blake came out to Petco Park, was 90, 93, kind of the Team USA version. So I think those two, in the 11th, 12th round, negotiations were pretty tough. But I think we're going to get both done.
So I have to ask, Chris, in your job, what does a typical year look like in terms of travel? How many countries do you get to? How many flights are you on? How many nights are you staying at a hotel? What does that look like, and how do you manage it over the course of a year?
Man, yeah, I don't know. I kind of just get in a little vortex. Time's kind of irrelevant sometimes. I just got off the phone with Trevor this morning. We're talking about, hey, who's got coverage in the Mexico showcase in 2 weeks? Hey, who's going to be in DR? Hey, are we covering the 15 and under tournament in Europe? I've got 8 scouts at the Perfect Game National right now watching the 2024 class. So I think for me in my year, once the draft finishes, that international window starts to open up, a few more trips to Dominican Republic to see our guys, some trips to see some Venezuela players, and then also kind of go ahead and then starting on this 2024 class. Just kind of stay in it.
So do you get to use mileage points and upgrade on the flights and stuff at some point?
I don't know. It depends if you get lucky.
Ben has an app called Eater that he likes to use. That's
find
he wants
good
to ask
restaurants
you
like
about
when
the
you're on the
food.
road. Yeah,
that's what he wants.
Absolutely, you got to find good spots.
I'd be a whale if I had that job. I'd just be a whale. I was eating poorly.
I mean, they got facilities in the DR. I'm sure you can use the workout room or something.
Yeah. We got a great gym in DR.
Doesn't mean you use it just because it's there. I mean,
we get after it.
All right.
Okay. See, he gets after it.
Well, we'll be at fantasy camp if you want to come see. I'm sitting
scouting.
We don't get after it. I'm 62, sitting 62 to 63.
So you're 20 on arm strength
and speed.
20 on speed. 20 on power.
80 heart.
80 heart. Thank you very much.
Hey, we both hit triples last year.
I did hit a triple. Worst day of my life.
Still recovering from it.
It was terrible. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it, man. You guys keep up the good work out there and find us that next crop. It's like, hey, good job this time. Do it again. It's so wild, man. Appreciate it.
In January for international signing.
All right, we'll see you then.
Perfect.
Thank you, buddy.
Chris Kemp, Padres Vice President of Amateur and International Scouting on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. Don't all industries in a certain way. They like to make things inaccessible a little bit for people outside. Like making a scouting system and ranking everybody on a scale from 20 to 80 just is making it confusing for everybody, right?
Not for them, though.
Well, yeah, but you could easily just make it 0 to 100, and it would make a lot more sense to non-baseball people.
These go to 11.
Yeah.
These go to 11.
So he's 20. So that's the bottom. 80 is the top.
Yeah.
I have no idea why that is.
Yeah, crank that on, Adio.
Yeah, Adio wants to jump in.
So I feel like this.
Hold on, crank him up.
I feel like this new generation of baseball enthusiasts, especially the ones that come up with video games,
right?
Because there are 2 games. So the show, obviously, but then Out of the Park Baseball 24, which is my preferred. They also have the option to where you can view on the 80-20 scale.
Oh, really?
As opposed to 0 to 100. So kids playing these games, they know that scale.
They know that scale. I did not know that. I have not played. My wife forbids it in my home. I'm not allowed to play video games in my house as a 47-year-old man. I've got a system that's packed in a box in my garage. I'm not allowed to use it. So I have not played the MLB the Show or any of those games in a while. But yeah, man, it's just how they do their thing. And when you see 80, that's good. 80 is good. The more
the best.
80s you get,
80
the
is
better.
the best.
Best you can do.
And if you get a guy who, how many tools? The 5 tools.
5 tools.
Speed, hit for average, hit for power, defense, and what's the 5th tool?
What did you say?
Arm strength.
Arm strength. Yeah.
Arm strength. If you can get a guy who's, 60, 70, and maybe has 180, that's a huge time prospect. I mean, that's
no
big
tools.
Time.
I'm a 0 tool.
You get
player.
80 heart.
80 heart.
80 heart.
They don't measure that.
They just did. You just got measured by Chris Kemp. You can put that on your resume now. All right, we're going to take a time out. We still got a couple of segments to go. We had some fun this week. We need to revisit some of the fun we had this week, like the latest prank call that you guys set up for me earlier. We should get to all of that before we get out of here on a Friday with Ben and Woods. Back after a check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan. The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. While you're listening, you see what you missed, click to listen on demand. So, like if you missed our interview on a Friar Friday with Chris Kemp from the Padres, you can just click on that segment and you go right back to it. Very easy. Just download the free Odyssey app, search 97.3 The Fan, tap earlier today to get started. So, Woods, you are not the most Texas-y of Texans.
No.
I know, and you've lived many places in your life, and you haven't been.
I was born there.
Haven't been in Texas in a while, but you spent a good chunk of your life in the Lone Star State.
I did.
You don't walk around with a cowboy hat or a rifle at all times.
No.
But the one thing where you've always been very Texas is in your strong advocacy for breakfast tacos over breakfast burritos.
And not even, I guess over is the right word. I do love a breakfast burrito. I do. But I also feel like I just visited a prostitute.
You're worried about getting canceled in San Diego, I know. But
no.
I'm great for sopping things up in the stomach after a long night of drinking.
Yeah, for sure.
I need a greasy-ass breakfast burrito.
But I feel bad about myself after I eat one. I do. I absolutely do, because they're the size of your arm, and you wolf it down, and you're like, oh, God, that was so good, but that was too much. It was just too much.
Like, we go to spring training, you'd want to make sure we go, where is it?
Whataburger to get the taquitos.
Because you don't have those here in San Diego.
Yeah.
And we never really have had breakfast tacos here in San Diego, at least as far as I have known until now.
Yes.
And we were talking about them the other day. And then all of a sudden, in studio this morning, Jose from Home State, which just opened up in Oceanside doing breakfast tacos, brought in some of their wares to sample. And really fluffy, fresh,
unbelievable
flour tortilla. Amazing. You got eggs, you got beans, you got bacon, potatoes, cheddar. They've got a bunch of different menu items. Brought them in. And now I see, now that I've had a breakfast taco, I see what you're talking about.
JWW in the chat says, you can just eat half, right? No, I did not know that. And
it's waste. That's wasteful.
I'm not going to heat it up.
You have restraint?
I'm not going to heat it up again. My wife told me
you guys went to Home State, didn't you? Last week?
Me and Bo and Taylor went. We went in on Sunday, I believe, and we were the second people in line. Sat down, and I got like 6. Now I don't know. I mean, I'm complaining about a breakfast burrito, but then I went and got 6 breakfast tacos. But I wanted to try a little bit of everything, and they are spectacular. And I did not have the brisket last week. I just had it. It's amazing. So Home State, it's in Oceanside. Incredible.
Well, thank you, Jose, for bringing those in and letting us try them. I can give it my full-throated endorsement now.
Whoa.
Jesus
I like
I'm on my knees
tacos.
for these.
I like breakfast tacos.
Yes.
There you go. That's all you need to say.
That was
you can add it to the list of things Ben likes.
Full-throated endorsement.
Maybe you can use that now to call someone else. You can have me ordering breakfast tacos from from a Panda Express the next time you do a prank call with me.
Now that these guys are
get down on all fours and make that prank phone call.
Now that these guys are our pals, maybe we prank them.
That's true.
That's if you own a business. There's a decent chance I'm going to prank you with a Benz soundboard like we did to our pal Rob Zilla.
Crossroads Deli.
Good morning.
Hi. Good morning. Can I take your order?
How is it hanging?
Can I take your order, please?
I like eating.
Yeah, I'm glad you do. You called the right place. Number 45.
I like a good thin pancake.
40. You like a what, sir? I'm sorry?
I like a good thin pancake.
A thin pancake? We don't have pancakes here, sir. You called a sandwich shop.
I like a barbecue chicken pizza.
I've got a barbecue chicken sandwich special, which we have on Thursdays this week.
I really like Fritos.
I have Dirty Brand chips, which are great, but we don't offer any of the Frito-Lay products. I'm so sorry.
Anything cream cheese based?
I got a bagel and cream cheese. That's about the best I could do for you.
I like fried Brussels sprouts.
Not at a sandwich shop, sir. We got meat, cheese, between bread, some vegetables, but yeah, that's not a vegetable we'll put on a sandwich.
Let me ask you, what was the score of the Aztecs game? Click. Click.
That will do it for our
You drove him nutty there. And you did call him back.
I did. I apologized and told him what we were doing. And he's the best. Just the best dude. Crossroads Deli is his spot. Just food segment here on Ben and Woods.
Breakfast tacos right alongside thin pancakes and fried Brussels sprouts.
Can we go to break a little early? Because I would.
Jose, do you have anything cream cheese based?
I was sure they could whip something up for you. I'd like to go to break just 2 minutes early so that I can eat another
go ahead.
one.
Yeah, grab another one. We got the Rindle Report. When we come back, a very surprising story out of, speaking of the Aztecs. Did you see what happened at San Diego State yesterday?
No.
You didn't?
No.
All right, you're going to find out from Paulie coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by S.E. Johnson Awe. So that was unaware of the lead story that is coming up on the Reindl Report.
No Twitter, man.
Just let him know. Me. Yeah, we got something to talk about here. What? Are you not on the San Diego State mail server list when they release, San
Diego State sent it. Adam reiterated it.
Yeah.
Where did that, on work email?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't check my work email. So. No, I did not see it.
You were out of the loop. Well, Paulie's going to get you into the loop right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by the all-new Premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad. Wrapping things up with just a couple of problems here, guys. Crash the clearing stage on westbound King Freeway just before 25th Street. It's over to the right shoulder. Had an accident involving a motorcycle on northbound 125 right at the eastbound 8 connector. Does not appear to be blocking lanes, but just take that ramp extra carefully. Also, a lot of Caltrans projects going on in and around the county in spite of the heat, guys. So please, let's keep those essential workers safe out there. Move over a lane if it's safe to do so. Just give them some space there. Brought to you by Premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad with all new 2023 GMC Sierra 1500 elevation package trucks, $4,000 off the MSRP. Over 15 in stock to choose from. Stop in or shop online at carlsbadbuickgmc.com, a proud member of the Premier Carlsbad family of dealers. And Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report.
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
On 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah? Oh, yeah.
All right.
I feel innocent, though, for not knowing this.
Well, you get to experience it like many other people do now.
I misinformed you a little bit. Adam did forward the email on, but just to the producers.
Okay.
So you weren't on the staff email.
Well, I mean, it doesn't matter if you don't check it, though. It wouldn't have mattered. He could have sent it to you, and you wouldn't have known.
You did get the one from San Diego State. They send it out to all the media members.
Which is weird because they don't ever return your texts or calls or emails for other stuff. So that's
trying to say something over there, Woods.
I think I just said
he did it. He said it. Mark Martinez retired, so maybe I can just text him directly.
Yeah.
Give
How
him
about that, Woods?
Now you're good. Now you're fine.
Now we're thinking.
Longtime baseball coach.
Yeah.
How long? You've been
spent the last 18 seasons with the Aztecs, and head baseball coach Mark Martinez announced his retirement yesterday, and there was no announcement earlier in the season, like Swan Song or anything like that. It just kind of came up randomly yesterday. I was not expecting that, but he has been there for a very long time.
Tony brought him in as an assistant for 9 years. He was at New Mexico. Tony Glenn brought him in, was 9 years as Tony's assistant. And then when Tony passed away, they elevated him and spent the last 9 years as the head coach of the baseball program.
He already ranks 7th in Mountain West history with 257 victories. He went 257 and 217, leading the Aztecs over the last 9 years for .542 winning percentage. 3 Mountain West tournament championships, and 1 regular season title this year.
Just the 1 regular season title, but yeah, I mean, I guess the odd part is he not that long ago signed an extension through like 2026. So he had been thinking that he was going to be with San Diego State for at least several years to come. And he said in a statement that he's looking forward to, spending some more time with his wife and his kids. And that's great. That's really what, that's what he wanted to do. He's 61. So there's plenty of coaches that still coach well into their 60s or even 70s nowadays. But if this is what he really wanted, then, good for him.
I mean, you never know how someone's health is. You never know, what the strain on them is mentally, physically, whatever. The thing is with any coach, and whatever you do, like everyone wants to be able to leave when they want to leave on their terms. That is something that's very important to me as well. It's a priority and above a lot of things. I want to be able to do things on my terms, and I don't ever want to feel forced out or, that's just not a good feeling. So, like you said, if he really was just like, You gotta love it. I mean, that's not something you can do half-ass, right? You have to really love it. So if you don't love it anymore, and or maybe that's it, and you just say, I can't give it my all, I'm not going to do it anymore. Money be damned.
Now you have coached adult league baseball. Are you thinking of throwing your hat in the ring, sending your resume to JD Wicker as a potential replacement?
I'm sure. I don't like
SDSU head baseball coach.
I don't know that I connect much with the younger college baseball player. They like to chant, do things, and I'm black is more than I'm accustomed to. I'd be maybe a little too old school for them.
The recruiting, heading to the high school living rooms of the parents to trust me with your 17-year-old son for the next 4 years. I'll help him get drafted in the big leagues. I know scouting directors like Chris Kemp. I've interviewed them before. Get you in front of those important people.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
San Diego State.
You could do worse than me. You could
do worse than Woods.
Could do worse than me, but
you know how to throw BP.
Yep, I don't know.
Hit a fungo or two.
I can, and I don't know much about how helping these guys improve.
A lot of bunting in the college game.
A lot of bunting. Way too much for me. Way too much for me. Oh, we're just gonna give away outs today, guys. Here we go. 7 of them. Yeah, I'm out. That's a huge commitment. Huge. Any college. It doesn't matter if you're D1, D3. It's a high school. T-ball is a huge friggin' commitment.
Now you're dealing with NIL as well.
Oh, my Lord.
Just added levels of complexity.
Too much.
NCAA rule books, violations.
You got to love it. And you have
dead periods for recruiting. You got to know everything.
And you got to love it, man. You really do. And it's like this gig. You can't do this gig if you don't love it. You just really can't do it. And you'll know. You'll know when I'm done.
Pitching coach Sean Cole will be the interim head coach, or the acting head coach for San Diego State. Next up, look, I do not bring up golf very often at all.
But you're about to.
But I'm about to, because I saw this story and I got some questions. I'm going to need some Ben-splaining, I think. The headline on ESPN says Rory McIlroy says he would not play live golf if it was the last option on earth. I think the quote was he would retire before he plays live golf. Correct me if I'm wrong. The PGA and live golf merged like a month ago.
Correct.
Now,
so he's playing half live golf.
The PGA Tour, though, is ostensibly they're in charge, though. They can do what they want. They can cancel the live tour completely.
So it's only a little bit dirty. He's only a little bit of a scab.
I don't know that it's so much about the Saudi stuff as he hates Greg Norman. He just despises Greg Norman, and he doesn't want anything to do with anything that Greg Norman
touched.
And they're still trying to, they're trying to force him out. We saw those documents that were, leaked as part of the congressional hearings this week, and one of them said, "Hey, but Greg Norman has to be out. Whatever we do, got to get rid of Greg Norman." And a lot of that's because guys like Rory McIlroy can't stand him, don't want anything to do with him. So they're still trying to figure it all out. I don't think Rory McIlroy will be retiring from golf. If he did, he has plenty of money and would be just fine. But my guess is that they'll come up with a solution that makes Rory feel okay about moving forward. He's not like that idea where he's going to own one of the live teams and he's going to play 10 live events. That's not happening. Tiger's not doing that. Rory will play in what is probably a normal looking PGA Tour schedule. And if push comes to shove and he's got to add, like he's playing one tournament in Saudi Arabia every year, he might hold his nose and he probably will do it, or maybe he'll find a way to skip it. I don't know. He's not retiring though. He'll still be around, but he hates Greg Norman.
His direct quote yesterday after the first round of the Scottish Open was, "If live golf was the last place to play golf on earth, I would retire. That's how I feel about it. I'd play the majors, but I'd be pretty comfortable." That's
like Griffey Jr. and the Yankees.
Yeah.
He's like, I would not take a contract to play there if it was the last place on earth. Yeah, people have their people they don't want to work with, and they've got their principles, I guess. And yeah, you don't want to work if he doesn't like Greg Norman, I think they're going to lean Rory over Greg Norman.
I would think that they might.
So. Probably a smart move.
All right, and then finally, we've talked about a little bit the writers' strike in Hollywood that's been going on for, I want to say, a couple months now. Writers, I think, doing the right thing, sticking up for themselves and their industry, and trying to be fairly paid and compensated for their work. So it's looking like it's going to be turning into an actors' strike now, and this is all ongoing. But so yesterday there was a big premiere in London, I believe it was, for Oppenheimer, new movie coming out from Christopher Nolan. I actually really want to see it. It looks fantastic.
Yep, I am also intrigued.
We talked about that the other day. It's 3.5 hours, I think, runtime. So be ready. But at the premiere, the cast was on the red carpet for this premiere when they got word of the actors strike now. And they united together and walked right off the premiere. And Christopher Nolan had to go on stage, and he's like, I just want to thank everybody, my producers, directors, the cast, and he names everybody. He goes, they're actually not here. They are writing up their pickets right now, and they are joining the actors strike now, the SAG-AFTRA strike.
So
I really liked that move, though, seeing that. And that was, I mean, would anybody have blamed them if they ignored
let's finish
messages
our premiere and everything
for a couple of
for the most
hours?
part,
we're here, we're on the red carpet.
You've seen an incredible amount of solidarity. This is about the writers and being fairly compensated for their work against the studios, and they weren't making much headway, and the actor said, here, we'll help you out, and we're going to go on. Now, SAG-AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild, and the American Federation of Radio and Television Artists. Now, we're not union people, but if we were, would we have to go on strike now in solidarity with the writers?
I would force you to.
I know
I would force you to. And you'd be like,
we would take Ben to a chair and just wheel him out.
You're going.
Can you imagine how mad Adam would be if
I know.
went on strike? I mean, the station's doing well, number one in the ratings, and all of a sudden, Ben and Woods are on strike in support of Hollywood writers.
It's a good bit. It's a really good bit. That's a good bit. People in radio, you're always looking for the good bit that makes national headlines.
Can we join the union while they're on strike and just be like, hey, we're with you?
Yeah. I saw an impassioned speech yesterday by the president of SAG-AFTRA. Happens to be Fran Drescher, which is a little bit surprising. I mean, remember her with the annoying New York laugh. What was her show called?
What was it?
The Nanny?
The
Nanny. She had just the most yeah. She gave a heartfelt, impassioned, beautiful speech on behalf of her union and supporting the writers yesterday, and really was pretty amazing to see.
Pay your people, man. Pay your people. Pay the people that keep your studio in business. And
no kidding.
It's
like play a monumental role in it.
And the actors striking is great, but what are the actors without the writers? They don't have any work.
And that's why I love that they are recognizing that and standing with these writers on this strike. Also, I guess, kind of tie it locally here. Comic-Con is next week, and a lot of studios. I mean, a lot.
Oh, God.
Well, now there won't be any actors at all here. I mean,
really?
they've already had,
studios pulled out
strike,
already.
So they can't do any promotional work, which includes Comic-Con. So
it's like
no actors.
They are instructing, if you're on strike,
a lot of the studios
be
had
careful
already
about where you
out.
go and what you do.
Yeah, it's going to be one of the more
tame
tame and less over the top Comic-Cons that we've had. Now, I still think there'll be a ton of people here because they've already bought their hotel rooms and their convention tickets. And hey, it's still San Diego. It's not like a death sentence to have to come here for 5 days and you get to hang out. But it's not going to be the endless stream of giant stars and sneak premieres and everything that we've come to be used to for Comic-Con for years in San Diego.
I want my money back.
Yeah,
that I paid.
Yeah, would you feel dirty going to Comic-Con now? If
yeah.
you support the writers,
I don't think that. I mean, I don't think the studios make money on Comic-Con. Comic-Con's its own thing. You're supporting like the comic book, the fandom and everything that goes along with it. That's fine. The actors can't go and promote their movies, which has always been a big part of it. But they won't be there, so you're not supporting or you're not crossing any picket lines to go to Comic-Con.
Well, I mean, the good thing is Michael in the chat says it's going to be interesting at SDCC. Because we'll actually get to walk the floor and not get crushed around the Marvel and Fox booth. Yeah, that's
fair.
That is fair. Interesting. Now, somebody also said in the chat, the actors don't need raises. Yeah, they're not asking for raises. They're just standing in solidarity with the people that write for them.
They're a pressure
we talked about
point.
it like yesterday with the ESPYs on Wednesday night, and they didn't have a host because I believe from what I saw, Kevin Hart was scheduled months ago to be the host of the ESPYs. Well, he doesn't write that stuff. They have writers that do it for him. And he goes, if they're on strike, those are my people. I'm with them.
I'm with them.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a good bit.
Good Reindl report.
Very good Reindl report.
So what are we doing here at the end? Are we doing things I like? Are we doing flubs?
We haven't done flubs in a long time.
It's been a while.
It has been a long time.
We'll let Paulie call it up, and I don't know. I've just been flubbing less, I think. So we've had less new material.
I wish is Thailand added from yesterday, because that was
the place
really
in
good.
Southeast Asia.
Thailand.
It's not added to it yet.
It's not a flub. You can't add it. It's a place.
You just sound like an idiot.
Just because you like to say Thailand, I can say Thailand. It's totally legitimate. I don't know why this is even an argument. All right, Robert says flub it up on the chat on YouTube. So why don't we do that? We'll wrap up the week with some of our favorite flubs. Sit down at a California-style blackjack table, or play some Texas Hold'em poker. Book a solar battery installation. Book a solar
What is
battery
the inspiration? Tatis has paid the big bucks to be our shard. Damn it. I have done it again.
I haven't heard much. The organization, Bob Melvin.
Who is Bob Meller?
Because Penske Lincoln's Dong Days of Summer sales event is on right now.
Benny and call a public safety power shutoff.
The meteorologist at STNG. I'm in trouble too.
The ump show is starting in 4 minutes.
Let's go, baby. Sherwater's behind the dish.
Whoa.
And of course, San Diego State taking on number 14 UHA on
I love you.
Bring it.
All right, we'll play this audio for you.
Guys.
Gnarly.
It's gnarly.
Out of St. Louis, California. First hour of Ben and Woods. Glad to have you with us on Wednesday morning.
Glad to have you with
wherever we are. And both times, Austin Nolan drove in the one run.
Who is Austin Nolan?
Browns, Bengals, Ravens, 3-2 and 2 teams in that division. Ballast Point Beer, the official craft beer of the San Diego Padres, at Ballast Point in Little India.
He's not 35.
But he will be before the contract is done.
What is a contract?
Holiday season is almost here.
30 days, half September.
And that is due. And do this for a Wednesday.
Don't.
Better Woods. Back after checking traffic on 97.3 Fan. He's got the fifth most wins coaching time, all-time coaching. Fifth most, yes. February 12th, State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. State Farm Stadium.
That's not what I heard.
It's not what I heard either.
Our first sound from Padres Spring Training 2013. A veteran pitcher is having success with those numbers. 6-year history of Major League Rugby.
I'll give rugby?
Sound Spring Tank, San Diego's #1 sports station, 93 The Fan.
We're talking about Landon Jonovan.
Who is Landon Jonovan?
All right. Back after a check of traffic here on 91.37 The Fan. Almost the entire 97.3 The Crew is coming out.
And then, of course, Joe Darvish and the kettlebell on the toe. Paul Reindl is our executive producer, YouTube director.
What's the director?
He's the director.
The soccer, they haven't lost the season all home, so we need you out there.
Craig Elston will join us with some streaming television. In which Grammy-winning Beatles song does Paul McCartney sing about the words that go together well? He was our man on the scene in the Beast of the Belly, Dodger Stadium.
That's all, folks.
In the Beast
The man on the scene.
The man on the scene.
The scene on the man.
No, the man on the scene in the Beast of the Belly instead of the belly of the beast. He got very fancy. We got breaking Padres news.
Oh my God, what?
Holy cow. Missing piece has arrived. Tampa Bay Rays have traded right fielder Ben Gamel to the San Diego Padres.
Gamel has not played in the big league since 2022. He had last year he had 9 homers and a 232 average in 115 games.
He's a lefty bat, career 1.3 WAR. He's got about 2,000 at bats.
Is he someone they're calling up, or are they sending him to the minor leagues?
No idea. I know
that's where he is now.
I know they need some depth at the minor leagues and major leagues. So there you go.
I'm not going to call this a major earth-shaking trade for the Padres. This doesn't tell us anything about what direction they're heading in.
You already are down on Ben Gamel.
I'm not down on him. He hasn't played in the big leagues at all this year. So I don't know how much you can count on him. Gary Sanchez had only played 3 games in the big leagues and came and hit 7 home runs for the Padres.
Wow, Jackson Merrill for Ben Gamel.
Yeah,
that's crazy. I'm joking.
That's obviously not the case.
Not the case.
You probably got Ben Gamel on the cheap.
I heard it was cash. So
cash. Yeah. Wow. Peter Seidler throwing around some money again.
Yeah, Ben Gamble. What does he cost these days? We'll see.
Hopefully not that much.
Man, they always wait. Those Padres always wait to the end of our show for the big news.
Guardians, Brewers, Mariners, and 6 games with the Yankees at the start of his career.
Well traveled.
He's been around the block. Actually, never played for the Tampa Bay Rays. Never made it up to the big leagues. All right, that's it. Good week, considering there was very little in the way of sports. But
had a lot of fun.
We somehow make it through. We'll have lots of sports and Padres to talk about on Monday morning when we rejoin you at 6 a.m.
Here we go.
For Adio Royster, from Jose from Home State, for Paul Reindl, for Stephen Woods. I'm Ben Higgins, full studio. Coach coming up next year on 97.3 The Fan. Have a great weekend.